telephone number to the B-Dry Waterproofing Hotline. Hope you are having a great Monday morning. I had fully expected to come in here today and discuss the Final Four, discuss the big week of spring football as we get ready for the orange and white game. I had fully expected to come in here and maybe mention the women's Final Four, the women's championship game last night between Baylor and Notre Dame. I did not expect to come in today and talk about the serious possibility of Tennessee conducting another coaching search, this time for men's basketball after a record-breaking regular season, a season where the head coach received National Coach of the Year awards and accolades. Did not expect that this morning, but hey, this is Tennessee. You always have to have your head on a swivel. 8:50 a.m., 100.9 FM, Rocky Top Sports is where you can find us there on the dial. You can download the free Swain Event app and listen to us there. Also, go back and listen to any show, anytime, anywhere. You can watch the program, Swain Event TV, Facebook Live, Periscope, and on YouTube. I am Jason Swain, Ben McKee, alongside Ben. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, individual. Yeah, I was not expecting this hand grenade to be thrown at us. It's almost as if somebody pulled the pin on the hand grenade and threw it to us, and we just have it sitting in our hand, and we're hoping it kind of diffuses itself.
If you are unaware, what we they have been looking for a basketball coach for months. They fired Steve Alford a couple games into the season this year. And
New Year's Eve.
They have talked to and looked at multiple people. They offered less money than what John Calipari is making there at Kentucky. They have looked at Jamie Dixon at TCU. And Jamie Dixon is a fine basketball coach. I kind of put him in the same group as Rick Barnes, really good basketball coach. His buyout is $7-8 million. Rick Barnes' buyout is $5 million. UCLA is a blue blood basketball program. But similar to what Tennessee football has been over the last couple of years, they've had some issues internally, and they have not been able to reach their maximum potential. But at the end of the day, it is a blue blood, and they treat basketball there at UCLA the way that a lot of SEC football programs treat their football team. And so for Rick Barnes, does he make a move at the age of 64? When I first heard this, it just didn't make a lot of sense. There was more things telling me, no, he won't go than things that tell me he should go and probably will go. But as we got along through the night last night and this morning, more and more reasons of why he possibly would want to go and could go start to pile up. Still does not overtake the reasons why he wouldn't go or shouldn't go. But this is the business at the end of the day. If you are working at your current job and someone comes up to you and they say, hey, we want to offer you 50% more or double, you're not going to listen. You're not going to entertain that. You're not going to take one of the few times you have in your life to use leverage after achieving something so great like Rick Barnes has achieved, and that is a National Coach of the Year award. He has the opportunity to do something that you rarely get a chance to do, and that is have all the leverage, have your superiors listen to you, and you make demands and them decide if they really want to feel it or not. It reminds me a little bit of being a free agent in baseball or basketball or football. You only have a few opportunities to do that and take advantage of that and capitalize on that. Everyone's courting you. Everyone wants you because you've proven yourself. that you are one of the best of the best. Rick Barnes has done that. This is where Coach Former, Tennessee's athletic director, will earn his salary, will earn the respect, and he will earn this job title. Ben?
Obviously, something is not right because on the surface, you can understand why Rick Barnes would at least listen to UCLA. It's UCLA basketball, and although they have had a putrid coaching search, Steve Alford got fired New Year's Eve, and they've since spent 3 months really keying in on one guy, John Calipari, and then they lowball him with an offer that is less than what he is currently making at Kentucky. And kind of since that point, UCLA has been the laughingstock of college basketball. And then they also go after coach at TCU, Jamie Dixon, and they were unwilling to pay the $8 million buyout the entire time, but they still go through the entire process of looking into Jamie Dixon, interviewing him, and almost offering him a contract, although they are unwilling to pay the $8 million buyout. Why would you spend a week or so targeting Jamie Dixon when the $8 million buyout is something that you knew firsthand right off the bat, and you still continue to pursue him? So amongst the college basketball world, UCLA has been the laughingstock, national media members, and the way they have conducted their coaching search. But it is understandable as to why Rick Barnes would look at UCLA. I mean, again, it is still a top 20 program. I don't think it is as storied as it once was, kind of because of some power struggles behind the scenes and their unwillingness to pay assistant coaches. But again, Rick Barnes would kind of be crazy not to at least listen to UCLA. All of us who have jobs, which is everybody listening, hopefully, if somebody else approaches you than your current company, current employee or employer, you're going to listen to them, especially if they're talking about raising your salary. We don't know if UCLA has offered Rick Barnes more money.
then I got to looking into it. I'm like, I just didn't know what to think about it. And if he wants to go, more power to him. That's all I'm going to say. Like, if he wants to leave us in a mess, you know, I don't know. I don't agree with it. Why would you leave for UCLA knowing that they're trash compared to what we make in the SEC? Now, I'm trying to keep it clean, of course, but I don't know. But on the other hand, I want to give a big shout out to Ebony Jackson that we got this weekend out of Georgia. Kid is a wrecking a burner out of Georgia, a fast kid. So glad that he has come to join the Vol family. But I don't know. This is going to be something to see. I know a lot of fans are going to be really, really pissed if he leaves and leaves us in a mess. Because, for one, look who Rick Barnes has recruited. Devontae Gaines, Josiah James, Burns. If he probably leaves, I would say probably Devontae Gaines is probably going to decommit, and probably Josiah James too. And that's going to be even worse because those two kids alone are just nasty.
Andy, appreciate you, man. UCLA is, I won't say they're trash. I will say they have a prestigious position.
They're trash right now.
And a Rick Barnes would fix a whole lot of stuff, just
exactly,
like he's done here in Tennessee. After two coaches who've been fired for scandals, and then one coach being ran off during the time when he was leading his team to a deep NCAA run. So a guy like Rick Barnes could really stabilize the program, which is why I'm sure UCLA is looking at Rick Barnes. Not only can he win more than they win right now, but he can bring everyone together. So let's not get in our feelings too much. UCLA is a dang good job. And it's probably more prestigious as a job than Tennessee football because of all the national championships and having one of the best ever in John Wooden. Let's pump the brakes a little bit there. You certainly understand why anybody would listen to UCLA. It's big time. You're recruiting in LA. You are the show. You can sweep the entire West Coast. Sean Miller right now, Arizona, they're not the desirable place right now because of the FBI probe. You have a chance to run things. But we'll do this after the break. Let's go one more phone call, then we'll take a break. Let's get to Jay. Jay, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jay.
I think what we need to do with Barnes is what Kentucky did with Calipari.
No. You mean lifetime contract?
Yes.
No. No. Nah. You know that's not going to happen, Jay.
I know.
Yeah, Barnes hasn't won enough at Tennessee because he has, as much as I love Rick Barnes, he has underperformed in the NCAA tournament the past 2 seasons, and you can't reward that with a lifetime contract. Yeah. If he had made an Elite Eight run last year and made a Final Four this year, I would be more open to it. But he's done a lot at Tennessee. He hasn't done enough for a lifetime contract. That is the ultimate achievement.
Nick Saban deserves a lifetime contract at Alabama. Calipari, if there was a second guy, in sports, in college sports, I would say Geno at Kentucky.
I mean, 100%.
Not Cincinnati, but Connecticut. Calipari will be there, but I'm sorry. Objectively speaking here, no, Jay. Love you though, Jay, but no. We got to take our first break of the day here on the Swain Event. 865-200-5503 B Drop Waterproofing Hotline. I will say this though, another reason why I disagree with Andy. A mess? Would Tennessee be in a mess if Rick Barnes left?
Tennessee, if Rick Barnes leaves, would be in a good position to go out and make a great hire.
Correct. Be right back. Swain Event.
You don't have to take an L just because you can't listen to the Swain Event live. You can catch up on the podcast posted daily on the app, online, and on iTunes.
Top 100 Barbecue Restaurant Dead End BBQ is the best place in Knoxville to get your barbecue. Saturday, the Hillbilly Chili is where it's at. Don't forget the half-off wings on Tuesdays from 4 to 8 p.m. and the salmon plate on Friday. The people spoke and Dead End listened, adding Dead End Society favorites like the Bernie Mac, Randall's Kitchen Sink Burrito, and the Barbecue Cheddar Meatloaf to the menu full time. Whether it's a game day or any day, at Dead End Barbecue, the mouth-watering barbecue search is over.
Do you want a custom-themed tumbler or bottle to show off your team spirit every day of the week? Well, look no further than Game Time Sidekicks. Every design has you, the fan, in mind. Their tumblers and bottles are double-walled, vacuum-insulated stainless steel, and their quality is second to none in the market. From stainless steel sippy cups to tumblers and sports bottles, Game Time Sidekicks offers something for the fan of all ages to rep their team with. They have many different logo options, so fans will have something they are proud to carry around all the time. Use promo code SWAIN at checkout to get 20% off of your entire purchase at GameTimeSidekicks.com. They also offer $5 flat rate shipping. Be sure to check out the Game Time Workshop on the website and customize your tumbler to make it one of a kind with things like your nickname, number, or initials. Game Time Sidekicks. Show your colors and carry your team.
While the other guys are taking guesses, the Swain Event is taking you behind the scenes and in the huddle every morning from 7 till 10 right here.
Are you looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? If so, then call me, Jennifer Morris with Keller Williams Realty. I take a no-nonsense approach to the real estate transaction. No fluff, just facts. Having lived and worked in the Knoxville area for 19 years, I am very familiar with the local real estate landscape and am ready to help you get the most money for your property with the least amount of hassle in the shortest amount of time. No one likes for their home to sit on the market for months at a time. If a straightforward approach to your real estate needs is what you prefer, then give me a call. Jennifer Morris with Keller Williams Realty at 865-694-5904 or email me at jennifermorris865@gmail.com.
You're driving home, flashing blue lights in your rearview mirror. You pull over, step out of your car, and the next thing you know, you're being arrested for driving under the influence. Now what do? We all should be responsible, but remember, just because you're arrested doesn't mean you're guilty. Call criminal defense and DUI attorney Marcos Garza at 865-540-8300. The investigative teams at the Garza Law Firm know the justice system inside and out. They utilize cutting-edge technologies and investigative methods to prepare your specific case. Before you plead guilty to any criminal charges, call criminal defense and DUI attorney Marcos Garza. Put his number in your phone right now, 865-540-8300, because you never know when you or a friend will need it. Don't say guilty. Say Garza. 865-540-8300. 865-540-8300 and GarzaLaw.com.
You're listening to the Swain Event.
And you know this, man.
865-250-503 B-Dry Waterproofing Hotline this morning. 850 AM, 100.9 FM, Rocky Top Sports. Why would Rick Barnes leave Tennessee to go to UCLA? Why? He is 190 miles away from Hickory, North Carolina, is where he was born. His wife is from this area. His wife went to Tennessee.
And I believe his mom still lives in Hickory, if I'm not mistaken. Which, at Rick Barnes' age, 65, his mom being close to him, I imagine, is fairly important.
He is. He has a strong and large footprint within the Knoxville community. Does a ton of work with Emory Youth Foundation. He has been paid an increase in salary. He is the third highest paid coach in the SEC, and he was the second highest paid coach in the SEC until Buzz Williams got his new contract with Texas A&M. When Coach Barnes got in trouble with any type of NCAA rules infractions, it was because he gave money out of his own pocket to his assistant coaches, which was a no-no. When he got his contract extension, his top two assistants on his staff also got a raise too. Now, it may not be all about money, but I'm sorry, if you are in a position to potentially replace your two top assistants, one has already left to take the Georgia State job, and the other, and Desmond Oliver, has been talked about with the Kennesaw State job. Robin Lanier just left to go to Georgia State. Robin Lanier got a $35,000 raise, and he was making $425,000. And Desmond Oliver got a $50,000 raise, and his salary was $275,000. You may have to replace two of your top assistants. Look at Rick Barnes' demeanor during the game. You know why he sits there the way he does? Because he trusts his staff. He trusts his staff. He trusts his players. He lets his staff coach. Well, you got to have good assistants to let them coach the way that Rob Lanier was able to coach during the season and during his time in Tennessee. Well, what does it take to bring in high-quality assistant coaches? It's going to take some money. And so it may not be important to Rick Barnes for his pockets, but what about an assistant coach who is up and coming, who has ties to this AAU program or this region of the country to bring in high-level recruits? So money is going to be a factor as far as his assistant coaches. Why would Rick Barnes, after getting let go of Texas, coming to Tennessee, seeing the support that he's got from the fan base? I don't know the dynamic between Coach Fulmer and Rick Barnes other than what was speculated on, but he has a 5-star Josiah James coming in. He's attracting high-level talent now. And this is a perfect time for Rick Barnes to be at a place like Tennessee, because Rick Barnes doesn't have to cheat, and he can still recruit at a high level because the game has changed. The FBI has cracked down. You can't cheat. This will be like being a pretty good home run hitter, but never getting the attention that you deserve because you played in the era with Mark McGuire, Barry Bonds, and all the cheaters. And then the moment that the book is thrown at all these cheaters for steroids, and then the MLB say, you know what? If you get caught with steroids, it's a lifetime ban. Now all the good guys who doing everything the good way, they look better because the game has been changed. Rick Barnes the same way. Man, he's been doing things the right way for a very, very long time. And now that the cheaters have been identified and folks are cracking down, now it makes Rick Barnes look even better now in an even playing field. So he doesn't really need to go to a big-time program with resources that can pay a bunch of money to pay recruits, because people are cracking down on that stuff. So it just didn't make sense for me. Man, why at 64? But this is UCLA we're talking. This is like the mecca of college basketball.
There are only 3 reasons that I could come up with as to why UCLA makes sense for Rick Barnes. A, it's UCLA. I mean, when you got to think, when Rick Barnes was growing up in Hickory, North Carolina, playing high school basketball and dreaming of being a college basketball coach and playing basketball, I mean, you got to think as an 18, 20, 22-year-old kid, I mean, UCLA was, I mean, big stuff back then. So you can understand the draw of it being UCLA, and that was one of the three reasons that I could think of. The other being, it would be smart if there was a time to get out of the SEC, it would be now. Because right now, he would have zero resistance in the Pac-12. Because I don't know how much Rick Barnes would win at UCLA. I don't know that he would be able to please the unrealistic expectations that have come upon UCLA fans. Because right now, UCLA fans have ridiculous expectations, and if you're not winning by year 2, they are going to want you out and you're going to be on the hot seat. So I don't know if Rick Barnes would be able to go there and win a national championship, but I do know that they would be in the tournament each and every year, and he would have zero resistance from the other Pac-12 schools, whereas in the SEC, the weak link in the conference right now is Cuonzo Martin, and Tennessee fans don't like Cuonzo Martin. Cuonzo Martin is a good basketball coach. He is if you don't think he's a good basketball coach, he is at least a good leader of a basketball program. Like when Cuonzo Martin may be the weak link of your conference is strong. Like that is top to bottom. There is not a poor program in basketball, in my opinion, right now. So that was kind of the other thought that I had as to why he would leave for UCLA.
Let me poke some holes in the Pac-12 is easier than the SEC narrative. And basketball doesn't really matter, though, because this is what I'm saying. Look at Auburn. Look at Auburn, man. They played in the league this year where they were supposed to be like at least 1 or 2 preseason. But during the season, they fell to like 4, 5, 6. But then they played the right ball at the right time, and they ultimately became the best team in the conference. The team that went the farthest. If Rick Barnes goes to UCLA, and let's say he has this impeccable conference record, you're not playing your conference teams to play for a national championship. You got to win 6 games, and those 6 games can be against anyone in the country. It can be against the best basketball teams in the country. You may run into one of your conference teams on your journey to the Final Four. You may not play one team from your conference because your conference is weak, and so you may not have that many teams in your conference. Even if Rick Barnes goes to UCLA, he's going to schedule hard out-of-conference teams. It's different to me than a Jimbo Fisher at Florida State and a Dabo Swinney at Clemson that doesn't get a ton of resistance in conference. So they really cruise during the regular season, and then they cruise in the ACC championship game, and they really only have 2 games where they have to prove themselves outside the conference. That is in the national semifinal, and then in the national championship game in the final. And
we'll stick with a college football example. Fans like to make fun of Notre Dame for not really playing anybody this past season. Folks like to kind of pick at Clemson about having very little resistance within its conference. If I'm being honest, it is fun to make fun of those other programs. But if I'm a college football coach right now, I would much rather have the easier path to the championship game, because you are right. They have little resistance in conference play. But Clemson has done a good job over the last couple of years of scheduling tough out-of-conference games. They had the home-and-home with Auburn. They've got a home-and-home with Georgia coming up. They play South Carolina each and every year. I would rather play Clemson's schedule than Alabama's schedule, than Texas A&M's schedule, than Tennessee's schedule. Yeah. And so I agree with you on that. But here's why I think it's not the nuttiest thing to kind of get away from the SEC, is because now, like I said, I don't believe there's a weak link in the SEC at the current moment. Cuonzo may be there in a year or 2, but I firmly believe that Cuonzo hasn't had great success at Missouri because he's run into bad luck with the Porter brothers getting injured in back-to-back seasons. Yeah. But there are going to be good basketball teams within the SEC that fans place high expectations on, and those teams don't meet expectations within the regular season and maybe in the tournament because the SEC is so top-heavy. There's not an easy game anymore. You're going to lose games throughout the season. You're not. I don't think over the next 2 or 3 years we're going to see 2 and 3 loss SEC basketball teams, just because the league is so strong from top to bottom. So I believe that there will be unrealistic expectations placed on some basketball teams within the conference, and because the league is so strong, fans are going to get upset real quick because whichever team it may be may not be living up to those expectations just because every night is a grind within the conference. Whereas in the Pac-12, play a tough non-conference schedule and then kind of cruise through the Pac-12, and then you're ready to go come tournament time.
So you think that the SEC can be what the ACC is right now, which Virginia was at the top of the conference with 2 losses. North Carolina was right there with 2 losses. Duke was right there with 4 losses. And then you had Florida State, and then you had Virginia Tech, who was right there in the thick of things and could have went further in the tournament if it wasn't for a few bounces. But Florida State had 5 losses in conference, and then Virginia Tech only had 6 losses in conference. And those teams made some deep runs. So you had 5 teams in the ACC make pretty deep runs in the NCAA tournament. I could see that happening in the SEC, but
deeper, like the league having 9-10 teams that could make a run in the tournament.
What is the 1 or 2 things that Rick Barnes can accomplish in his career that he has not already accomplished that he can do at UCLA but can't do at Tennessee?
Win a national championship.
He can't do that at Tennessee?
I'm not saying he can't, but he is more likely to do it at UCLA.
I don't know if I can say that.
Well, really the only thing Rick Barnes is missing right now is a national championship. He's made 1 Final Four, so technically he has checked that box off. I think it would benefit him greatly because there are a lot of Rick Barnes NCAA tournament haters, or I think the questioning of Rick Barnes in the NCAA tournament is fair at this point. I really do.
Yeah, sure.
But if he could get to a Final Four, he would be able to kind of silence some of those critics a little bit more. And then obviously he has not won a national championship, so that's really the only thing that he hasn't accomplished during the course of his career off the top of my head.
My thing is zebras don't change their stripes, just their location. And so he has a style.
Correct.
And I don't know if the place right at this stage of the game for Rick Barnes is going to matter if he wins the national championship or not. If he wins the national championship at UCLA, I think he does it because he's changed his style a little bit, but he can accomplish everything he wants to accomplish here. Look at Texas Tech. They're playing for a championship tonight. Look at Virginia. I mean, Bennett has built his basketball team in a lot of ways the way Rick Barnes has tried to build his basketball program here at Tennessee. Look at Bruce Pearl at Auburn. You don't have to really go to UCLA to win a championship. He can do it right here. Like, he really can.
Yeah, I agree with you, which that brings me to my third and final reason. The only reason I could think of as to why he would go to UCLA is that you could make a case, I don't believe this, but you could make a case that maybe he is capped out at Tennessee in terms of being number 1 in the SEC for a month. He did win an SEC title. The individual awards have really piled up. I believe that he should have and could have already made it further than he did in the NCAA tournament. So I don't believe that he is capped out, but you could, at least within his tenure with Jordan Bone maybe moving on, Adam Schofield, Kyle Alexander, probably Grant Williams if he decides to leave. And then you look at the rising upperclassmen, Jalen Johnson, Eve Pons, John Fulkerson, Derek Walker. They don't look like they're going to be the type of players that Grant Williams or these other guys were. You could make a case that maybe he has reached his limit at Tennessee, although I don't buy into that. I think he can do so much more, especially if he comes back, if Bone comes back, and if Grant Williams comes back. I think Tennessee could go further than they did this year.
Yeah, and I'm looking even past that. He's now recruiting a higher level of player, which does not mean that's the final say, and that 100% means he's going to win more. That just means that he has he's starting at the 50-yard line instead of his own 20. So you go out, you get the Grant Williams, you go out, you get the Lamontes, you go out and get the Jordan Bowden. These guys are 3-star players. not recruited at a high level by big-time programs, you're starting at the 20-yard line to go score touchdowns. So there's just more work you got to put in. When you get more talent, you're kind of starting at the 50. You got better field position. You got a better chance to go score. But you still got to put in the work, though. Rick Barnes had a plan, and that's to recruit a certain type of player in the first couple of years, build it to then attract a different type of player. And he is at stage 2, stage 3 of this plan where he's won, and now he's recruiting high-level players. I just don't get leaving right now. If he does leave, I'm not freaking out.
No. I'll be disappointed.
I'm good. I'm chilling because I know what Tennessee has to offer in basketball. And other schools have made moves, and those are good moves or whatever. But I'm not worried like I was with Tennessee football. Like, oh my gosh, man, we may not be able to get anybody. Why would Gary Patterson want to leave TCU? Or I mean, why would Mike Gundy want to leave Oklahoma State? Those are good spots for those guys. I mean, I feel like we can go out and attract some really good talented coaches, and we're not in the position that we were in a couple years ago when guys like Chris Mack told us no, and Mike White, who went to Florida from La Tech, told us no. I think we're in a different position.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. 2 quick things before we hit a break. To your point about Rick Barnes kind of playing at Tennessee, getting here, finding some guys that he can develop over the course of the years, I agree that it does not make sense for him to go to UCLA because on that point, UCLA fans are not going to allow him time to develop Grant Williams at UCLA, develop Jordan Bone, Bowden, Lamonte Turner, Kyle Alexander, Admiral Schofield. They're going to expect an Elite 8 Final Four run in year 2. Barnes is not going to be able to do that with the plan that he used at Tennessee. And then in terms of if Barnes does decide to lead, I would be very disappointed because I love Rick Barnes and everything he stands for, things he does in the community, and then obviously what he has done with the basketball program. But Tennessee will absolutely be able to attract good coaching talent, as you said. But I sure wish if he does leave, it would have been a week ago because who's to say Tennessee could not have gone out and got Buzz Williams instead of Texas A&M? Who's to say Tennessee could not have gone out and got Eric Musselman from Nevada instead of Arkansas? Those are 2 really good coaches that, in my opinion, Tennessee would have had as good of a chance of anybody of landing. So I do wish if Rick Barnes were to lead for UCLA, it would have been a week ago instead of today.
There's serious interest on both ends. You cannot deny that. 865-200-5503. Stay with us. Be right back.
For a replay of each day's Swain Event TV, like us on Facebook.
We have all made the mistake of dropping or breaking our smartphones. See? But did you know that you can have it repaired for a fraction of the cost that it takes to replace it? Well, you can, because iDrop is the area's leading mobile repair store, home of the 1 hour or less phone repair, 1-year parts warranty, and #1 customer service. Broken screens, cracked cameras, charging ports, batteries, you break it, we'll fix it. If you didn't break your phone, protect it with one of our leading accessories such as LifeProof, OtterBox, UAG, Incipico, Caseology, and Spec. Visit our West Hills location at 7115 Kingston Pike between Office Depot and Hardee's, or call 865-888-9740 and speak with our trained technicians to see how we can get your phone working today.
When you see the happy face on our truck, you'll be smiling because you'll know that you're in love.
It's freezing in here, Mary. What's wrong with your heater? The repairman can't get here till next week. Sugar, you've got the wrong guy. My guy is fast and has free heating service calls when he does the repair.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Hiller. Take advantage of a free service call with any repair.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
While the other guys are taking guesses, the Swain Event is taking you behind the scenes and in the huddle every morning from 7 till 10 right here.
We're here with Dr. Mike Carlson of Tennessee Regenerative Sports Medicine. If you have orthopedic injuries such as shoulder pain, knee pain, or instability, Achilles tendonitis, golfers or tennis elbow, do what I did and give them a call.
Yeah, Jason, we specialize in regenerative non-surgical orthopedics. So we treat damaged ligaments, tendons, and joints, including things like rotator cuff injuries, knee instability, elbow problems, as well as foot problems like plantar fasciitis, Achilles, things of that nature, by injecting with stem cells and what's called PRP, or platelet-rich plasma. And this form of treatment we do under ultrasound, so we know we have our target. And it also stimulates the body's own reparative process, and this allows for the healing of damaged tissue. And as you well know, I mean, numerous professional and collegiate athletes, guys like Steph Curry, Tiger Woods, and even yourself with your ankle injury, have been using this form of treatment for years. And so we offer that same type of treatment here in East Tennessee.
Visit them on the web at trsportsmedicine.com. Tennessee Regenerative Sports Medicine, East Tennessee's leader in regenerative therapy.
Craving flavors that don't take hours in the kitchen? Mrs. Grissom's cheese spreads and chicken salads are the perfect go-to. Ready-to-eat meals and snacks found in the meat or dairy section at your local grocery store. Whether you crave the classic Mrs. Grissom's pimento cheese or the gluten-free select varieties like the cranberry pecan chicken salad, enjoy small-town flavor in every bite. Select the best. Select Mrs. Grissom's.
You're listening to the Swain Event.
And you know this, man.
Swain Event, SwainEvent.com, fueled by Dead End BBQ. Hour 1 is powered by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Let's get to Vol Nation. Vol Nation, good morning, my friend.
Good morning, man. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, doing great, man. It's a beautiful day, other than the pollen, I'm all right.
I know what you mean.
It has been killing me all weekend. I've already sneezed 2 or 3 times this morning.
I think everybody's car is the same color.
With the yellow
regardless of what year, make, and model, you know.
You better get you some algae medicine. Vitamin C.
Hey, I'm sorry.
No, I was saying get some vitamin C.
That's it, man. Vitamin C, a little Zyrtec, I think you'd be all right.
That's right.
My wife got all these little natural products, so she's trying to get me off of the Zyrtec and the Sudafed.
I'm with you, man. I'm the same way.
Keep me clean.
I'm the same way.
But I'm listening to you guys, and I know you guys are throwing out a lot of information as far as pros and cons about Coach leaving. And I want to give you a little different perspective from a person maybe a little bit older. I'm not as old as Rick Barnes, but, you know, I start thinking about these things the older I get. One thing is retirement. You know, is my wife happy where we are? Where's my family? And I know he's got a son that's, you know, on a missions thing in East, I think the Middle East, and his daughter lives in Texas. But, you know, the thing about it is once you get kind of settled somewhere, you like somewhere, kind of like Jim Chain said, I really love Knoxville. You know, does Rick Barnes love this area? You know, and you start thinking in that perspective of regardless of how great that job may be, you know, how much longer am I going to be coaching? And then the other thing is he's changed. They had an article on him, I think, in 2018, and how his perspective has changed because he was very self-centered. I mean, not saying he's not competitive, because he's still competitive, but he said he was very self-centered, very prideful, and very selfish. And now, because he's given his heart to the Lord, his perspective and priorities have changed. And so, for me, as a strong believer, when I get ready to make shifts and moves, money and opportunity and all that stuff, that's a small portion of it. My perspective is the Lord leading me to shift and move in that direction? Because regardless of how great it may be, it's better to be in His perfect will than to be where I think I want to be. And when listening and reading that article and then watching how he's so impactful in this community, he likes being influential and investing into these young men. That's his mission field right now. And when you're investing and you're a mentor, you demonstrate and display loyalty, commitment, integrity, character, discipline. All right? Well, you know, when you have connected through relationship, because 90% of ministry is relationship, sometimes it's difficult to sit there and say, well, I love you guys, but I got to go. Now, if he feels that the Lord has opened up that door to go, then he can say, hey, this is what I believe God has done, and we're going to shift and do this, and this is why. But if that is not the case, I believe because of reading this article and seeing how he functions, his relationship with the Lord and where he is in his life right now may be a huge factor on whether he leaves, because the demand that's going to be put on him to rebuild that program, like the lofty expectations and all that stuff, that will detract and take away from his ability to be able to focus on where he is in the kingdom right now and maybe what he's feel the call to do. And I've seen it where people have chased an opportunity, but their passion and their heart is to serve the Lord in a certain way, and they weren't able to do it there, and they realized down the road it was a mistake.
Yeah, Rick Barnes in L.A. just they don't make sense to me, Foundation, for those reasons that you laid out.
The only thing I could think of is that if he were in L.A., nobody would think of Rick Barnes.
No.
But Rick Barnes, as like you said, Rick Barnes being in L.A. does not make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Now, they would, L.A. is a front-running town. They love winners, right? Remember when the Rams moved to L.A.? No one was really paying attention to the Rams until they started winning, and then, folks got excited about them. The Lakers, they don't go to the games. They don't even show up till, halftime. Now, if you win, and you're winning at a high level, the Shaq Kobe days, then okay, people will go, but they like winners, and it's going to take a while for Rick Barnes to win at a high level for him to get that support that he got here at Tennessee. And, yeah, Tennessee was really successful this year, was #1 in the country, but those seats were packed even before this year. Tennessee basketball has always had really good numbers. I was looking at a tweet from Joe Rexroad, who writes for the Tennessean, and he was saying, he was at the game there in Pavilion.
Pauley Pavilion, I believe it is.
Pavilion there at UCLA when they named the court after John Wooden. John Wooden was still alive, and the arena looked 65% full.
And they were playing Michigan State.
I mean,
if Tennessee was naming the football stadium after Philip Fulmer or naming the field after Philip Fulmer, I promise you, Neyland Stadium would not be 60% full. I promise you, if the basketball arena was being named after Pat Summitt, I promise you the arena would not be 60% full for a women's game.
It just doesn't it don't make a lot of sense to me. As I weigh the pros and cons for Rick Barnes, why he would, why he wouldn't, it just doesn't make sense. And I didn't even mention the Tom Sakoyak story and how he was instrumental in basically saving Tom's life. I didn't even mention that. It just doesn't make sense for him to go to L.A. It just doesn't to me. But if he does, I'm still good because I know Tennessee can go out and get them a dang good basketball coach. I would hate changing this case. I really would. But I'm not going to jump off a cliff because I think Tennessee's in a really good spot. There's a lot of good coaches right now that the SEC is attracting, and Tennessee is a win-now job.
That's true. I think he's done a great job, building the program back up. So it is very attractive. And like I said, I think we have an AD that doesn't mind spending a little money to get the best because I think overall he wants all the programs to be successful, even though, football has been a main focus.
Yeah.
One last thing before I get out of here, man. Have you guys heard anything about the replacement or the new coach for the ladies basketball team? As well as I know we got a new commitment from a running back, I think over the weekend.
Ebony.
Maybe it was Friday.
Ebony.
And, would y'all tell us a little bit about him? Because I was kind of trying to read up on him a little bit, but I wanted to get y'all's perspective. I appreciate it, fellas.
Will do. Yeah, that was a focus, before Saturday, which was talk about a commitment, talk about the Lady Vols coaching search. My man John Bryce dropped some nuggets on Twitter, and so I started doing some digging a little bit, and man, some really good names to discuss there with the replacement of Holly Warlick. That was the plan, but Rick Barnes potentially going to UCLA, man, that trumps everything right now. It really does. Even spring football, the game is going to be played this weekend. There's going to be a lot of people in town, a lot of former players, a lot of alumni that's going to be in town to go to the orange and white game. But right now, all eyes are on Rick Barnes, and the timing the timing not the best because golly, Coach Fulmer and company, they're trying to replace the person who replaced Pat Summit, and they're trying to make sure that the right decision is made so the Lady Vols program doesn't slip even further. So this is not the best timing in the world, if you ask me.
I think it is terrible timing. I mentioned as we were going to break last segment that it would have been nice if Rick Barnes would have left a week ago because
if he was going to do it.
If he was going to do it, because then maybe Tennessee could have landed Eric Musselman, landed Buzz Williams. But Tennessee will still be an attractive job. My question to you is, if Rick Barnes does decide to leave, how worried are you that because there are two coaching searches going on, that one of them gets messed up? Either being they rush to hire a Lady Vols coach just so that they can then focus on the men's coach, or vice versa, they focus on hiring a Lady Vols coach first, and then because they are focused on hiring a Lady Vols coach first, they may miss out on a men's coach that they wanted to target who went elsewhere because they waited 3 or 4 days extra before they started the search because they were wrapping up the Lady Vols coaching search.
I'm not worried because both jobs should attract coaches who are good. And you look at what Rick Barnes is making, second highest paid coach in the SEC before Buzz Williams.
In basketball.
And Lady Vols, they're gonna pay some money, and it's a universal brand. So it's different than football. Football, man, you had to beg folks just to talk to you because of this job and how toxic it was and how hard it was to win and be successful. So it's a little bit different. I'm not worried. I'm not worried.
I'll tell you this though, Tennessee already has problems enough troubles finding a coach when a singular coaching search is going on. Lord knows what may happen when two coaching searches is going on.
Yeah, but that was football though, man.
I'm mostly joking.
Yeah, these two jobs, they're good jobs, and I wouldn't mind having a nice little talk with my man up there at ETSU if anything happens.
Or Chris Beard.
I do love Chris Beard too, man. That dude's the real deal. Gotta go to break though. Hour 2 coming up.
For a replay of each day's Swain Event TV, like us on Facebook.
We have all made the mistake of dropping or breaking our smartphones. See? But did you know that you can have it repaired for a fraction of the cost that it takes to replace it? Well, you can, because iDrop is the area's leading mobile repair store, home of the 1 hour or less phone repair, 1 year parts warranty, and #1 customer service. Broken screens, cracked cameras, charging ports, batteries, you break it, we'll fix it. If you didn't break your phone, protect it with one of our leading accessories such as LifeProof, OtterBox, UAG, Incipico, Caseology, and Spec. Visit our West Hills location at 7115 Kingston Pike between Office Depot and Hardee's, or call 865-888-9740 and speak with our trained technicians to see how we can get your phone working today.
Touchdown or turnover is up next on the Swain Event.
When I made the move to my own studio, I was worried about this. I was worried about that. I was worried about, hey, did I get this piece of equipment? Did I get that piece of equipment? Does that sound good? Does that not sound good? One thing I didn't have to worry about, that was office furniture, because Office Furniture Outfitters met my furniture needs. With a 50,000 square foot facility, they have East Tennessee's largest selection and are the best value for new and used office furniture. Located in Knoxville, it's easy to find everything you need for your new space, including desks, file cabinets, chairs, conference tables, and more. Office Furniture Outfitters is turnkey. They came to my place, we mapped everything out that was needed, they delivered, and get this, set everything up. To learn more about what Office Furniture Outfitters can do for you, log on to ofonox.com. That's ofonox.com.
In debt? In too deep? Alcoa 10 Federal Credit Union says, stop treading water and get out of the deep end. If you've got debt, make a splash and come get some cash. If Alcoa 10 Federal Credit Union can refinance your car, boat, camper, motorcycle, credit cards, personal or home loan, they'll pay you up to $500. So come take the plunge right now. Refinance your loans. Alcoa 10 Federal Credit Union will pay you. 5 convenient locations. Visit atfcu.com. Equal housing lender.
Touchdown or Turnover is backed by Alcoa 10 Federal Credit Union, a place where you belong.
Touchdown turnover backed by Alcoa 10 Federal Credit Union, a place where you belong. Better rates and better service, atfcu.com. Touchdown or turnover. We, Tennessee fans, we, the world, will know of Rick Barnes' decision to stay or go by tomorrow morning at 8:03, which it is right now. So we will know in the next 24 hours whether Rick Barnes is going or staying. Touchdown or turnover.
That's an easy touchdown. I mean, you've had 2 or 3 different people report that we'll know within 24 hours. Russell Biven reported that last night in one of his tweets. Tony Basilio mentioned it on his little late night emergency show that he did on his app last night. And I want to say there was a third person that said the same thing, but just going off based off things that have been reported, easy touchdown. And Rick Barnes seems like the type of guy that if he were to leave, he would try to soften the impact for Tennessee as much as possible. And I think the sooner Tennessee learns of his decision, the better. So I don't think Rick Barnes is going to rush to a decision, but I do think that wording, you got me there. I do think we'll know a decision within 24 hours.
Yeah, I'd say a touchdown. I think out of respect for Tennessee, if you're going to go, because every minute is like an hour, and every hour is like a day right now because other coaches have made moves. Josiah James needs to know what's going on.
He enrolls along with Drew Pember and Devontae Gaines in less than a month.
Yeah, these guys need to know. I mean, Rick Barnes in Tennessee decided not to offer a local SEC caliber basketball player in Quez Glover. And you understand why, because Josiah James, you get the numbers, whatever. But Florida came and got him. And so Rick Barnes didn't want him to offer him, but maybe the new guy will and want to if Rick Barnes does decide to go to UCLA. I just think that if you're gonna do it, just do it, one way or the other. So yeah, I say touchdown. I think something is going to be decided in the next 24 hours. He met with UCLA over the weekend. He met with Coach Fulmer yesterday. You got players that signed to play for you in Tennessee. I think they deserve to know something really, really, really soon. You have another assistant in Desmond Oliver that may or may not be a head coach this year. I just think folks need to know that their futures are tied to you as the basketball coach.
I mean, forget the guys that have been signed. What about the guys on the current roster?
Yeah, Grant Williams. I mean, I think he needs to know.
If Rick Barnes leaves,
no, he's gone.
He's gone.
I would go if I'm Grant Williams.
I mean, it already, in my opinion, doesn't make sense to come back to school. based off of some mock drafts that have him going in the late teens, early 20s.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to improve on that if he were to come back a year. So simply based off a professional career and being drafted, to me, it doesn't really make sense to come back in the first place.
Yeah.
But if Rick Barnes leaves, why? I mean, I wouldn't even really consider it.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's get to D.R. Vol. D.R. Vol, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Calling in to play a little bit of devil's advocate. If the reports are true that he's kind of upset with the way he's been appreciated, I guess would be the word, do you think that'd be hard to get a good coach in here with that kind of fear?
No, because that's Rick Barnes, and that is something that let's say it's because of Coach Fulmer's comment about just wanting to get football right. Let's just say that's the reason. Don't know if that is the reason or not, but let's just say that's the reason. Well, Coach Fulmer can make an adjustment. Tennessee can make an adjustment, so that way the next coach doesn't feel that way. I mean, that would be a concern if I'm another coach, but if I sit down and voice my concern, that could be hashed out in one meeting.
I think it could hamper Tennessee in hiring a coach, depending on who the coach is. If it's somebody like Greg Marshall, who I guarantee you will be linked to the Tennessee job, as he always is with basketball, Greg Marshall is going to have more than just Tennessee coming after him. And the other schools that are going after Greg Marshall could use this against Tennessee. So I think it kind of depends on the coach whether it will hamper Tennessee or not.
That's funny because I remember a point in time when Greg Marshall was too good for Tennessee, that Greg Marshall was better for Tennessee. And maybe right now Tennessee is too good for Greg Marshall.
Maybe.
I don't know if Greg Marshall's personality would mesh.
Yeah, I don't think it would mesh very well.
I don't know about that one, man. I don't know.
You ready for Greg Marshall's wife to be in the stands at Thompson Bowling?
Man, I don't know.
Yelling with Tennessee fans?
I don't know, but hey, if you win, that cures a lot. So I think Tennessee's in a good spot regardless, though.
I don't get it. I don't guess. I mean, he's at a SEC school where we're football nuts down here, and the AD is a national championship winning football coach. So I guess I don't see what else he expects, if that's a good way to put it.
Well, I mean, you expect to get all the support in the world. If you're Rick Barnes, you're doing everything right. You don't get in trouble. You have ingratiated yourself to the Knoxville community. You win. I mean, I don't know what he feels good or bad, but if there was a amount we can put on like the level of support that he should be getting from Coach Fulmer, it should be more than football. Honestly, just based on the success. And I know this is a football school, but man, go win some games, football. Go win some games, and then we can talk about who deserves the most attention. I know football gets the money. I understand that. But if you're Rick Barnes and you've done everything right, and your AD is saying that I only care about football, I can see how that can rub a basketball coach the wrong way. I don't know if that is the reason why Rick Barnes is rubbed the wrong way, or if he is even rubbed the wrong way. But when Coach Fulmer said it, I did cringe a little bit.
Something isn't right. I mean,
did cringe.
Something isn't right. I mean, from the outside looking in terms of just basketball, it does not make sense, in my opinion. And I know you agree with me based off comments you've already made. It doesn't make sense for him to leave Tennessee for UCLA right now. It really doesn't. So that concerns me and tells me that something is really up behind the scenes, and people are going to sit here and say, well, it's a football school. Rick Barnes can go on somewhere with getting his feelings hurt. To me, I'm concerned that it may be more than what it appears to be, because Rick Barnes does not strike me as a man at 65 years old who would really have his feelings hurt by hearing a comment that, well, I'm just here to fix football. Yeah. To me, it would take more. That would make me feel weird, but it would take more than just that comment in order for me to go out and seek another job.
No, you're right. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, considering that he was at Texas for as long as he was. Imagine what he heard at Texas. Imagine what was said to him there. But D.R. Vol, anything else, sir?
Well, I just want to forewarn everybody, if he does leave, which I completely agree with y'all's comment, he doesn't seem like the guy that would do that. But, the hashtag Triple B be coming back on Twitter, and I don't mean Big Baller Brand.
Oh, I know. Bring back Bruce.
Yep.
Hey, Coach Foreman and Bruce had a really great relationship when they were here together as coaches. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. But, I mean.
You would have to pay him a lot of money. You would have to pay Bruce more than you are currently paying the football coach.
Oh.
Because that
how much Pruitt making? It ain't 4, is it?
I think it's around 4.
I mean, he would deserve it. I mean, Buzz Williams getting paid, 3.8, Texas A&M?
That's what he's about to get at Auburn.
Yeah. I mean, the NCAA stuff is still over his head, though, with his 2 assistants. So you just
$4 million, or Pruitt is 3.8.
Yeah.
And you probably have to give 4.5 to Bruce. 4.5 or 5.
After this run, yeah, yep. Jeff Goodman tweeted out 21 hours ago that ETSU Steve Forbes was involved in Arkansas opening. He met with administration in Iowa City. He was grieving the father of his father. And I'm telling you right now, Steve Forbes is a stud. He is not a Bruce Pearl fan, I'll just tell you that right now. But Steve Forbes is a stud coach. And so, looking at Leo from Hardin Valley, he said, say no to Forbes. We're above his pay grade. What does pay grade have to do with anything? You want to get the best basketball coach for you. And Alabama went out and got a dude who is a pretty dang good basketball coach in Oaks, who they believe is a good basketball coach and has proven he's a good basketball coach. At one time, Chris Beard was a Steve Forbes. At one time, Steve Forbes was a Bruce Pearl when he was coaching at Milwaukee, Wisconsin before he came to Tennessee. So this ain't football where you go out and you say, hey, let me go drop this big bag off the damn Mullen and pull him away from Mississippi State. We know he's a good coach, and just get a good coach, man. Everything else take care of itself. Just get you a good coach. We've seen that with Bruce Pearl coming from his little school to Tennessee, and now he's doing it at Auburn. So I'm telling you right now, Steve Forbes is a damn good basketball coach, and he will be coaching at a Power 5 school. He almost got the Arkansas job and dealing with the loss of his father. Not sure how much that played into it and that affected him during the interview process, but Steve Forbes is a real deal, man.
Yeah, so going back to, I agree with 423 Vol here on the text box, and it's kind of what I was just saying. Something isn't right. Fulmer was at games, at the SEC championship game, and at the NCAA tournament. There has to be more to the story. I 100% agree.
Admiral's tweet about Greg Popovich wasn't right either. And a couple days ago, a couple days before that, Admiral pulled himself out of the game, kept himself out of the game for the betterment of the team in that situation. This team has been close all year long. That tweet didn't make sense. So it can appear a certain type of way and be different behind the scenes. I don't know.
I'm just not buying the fact that because Philip Fulmer said on multiple occasions that I'm just here to fix football, I'm only worried about football, that would rub Rick Barnes wrong to the point of where he would actively look for a different job. Like, I can understand being bothered by the comment, but to the point to where you're really entertaining another job. And I also wonder, I mentioned the whole Arkansas thing earlier about how Rick Barnes mentioned that he wouldn't do that to Tennessee. I mean, would Rick Barnes look at Arkansas if they weren't in the conference? Arkansas isn't on the level of UCLA. And if Rick Barnes were willing to look at Arkansas if they weren't in the SEC, I think that's very telling as well.
I think Rick Barnes deserves a raise. I think Rick Barnes deserves more money for his assistants because he's going to have to replace a major assistant that left for Georgia State and Rob Lanier, and he may have to replace another assistant. And so Rick Barnes definitely needs more money for assistants. Let's go ahead and get that out there. If he stays, he definitely needs that. Can we agree?
I do agree. I 100% agree. But here's the thing. He's at, what'd you mention, 3.25 right now? Barnes?
Yeah, around that area, yeah.
I just mentioned Jeremy Pruitt is at 3.8. Is Philip Fulmer going to pay the current basketball coach more than the current football coach?
Here's something to think about, too. If you're Rick Barnes, you have witnessed Tennessee football in the first year. They went out and they paid $1.2 million for an offensive coordinator. They ain't proved anything at a big-time level. They went out and they got Craig Fitzgerald. They paid him $600,000, making him the second, third highest paid strength coach in the country. And then they gave him another $600,000 to completely change their brand new weight room. So another 1.2. They are paying the buyout of Terry Fair. They probably going to pay Craig Fitzgerald more money to keep him away from Maryland. We go out and we get Jim Chaney at $1.6 million. Then we bring in Derek Ansley at $1 million. You bring in T. Martin, and T's still getting paid from USC, so you're good there. The first season of Tennessee football, you saw some dudes making a lot of money on the job training. Head coach, offensive coordinator, a lot of dudes make a lot of money. You Rick Barnes, you're winning at a high level. You're proven you should be able to get anything you want for your guys and for yourself.
Yeah.
And you may feel a certain type of way. I said may. His assistants need to be paid more. His assistant pool needs to be more because he now has to attract some big time players. Now, Leo comes back and says Ford doesn't have the name power to go sit down with 5-star kids and pull them from Duke like Barnes did with Josiah James. Leo, Duke is getting guys who are like one and done players.
I mean, if we're being honest, Duke didn't want Josiah James.
I mean, I didn't want to say that, but that's pretty much.
Josiah James is an extraordinary talent. He is a bona fide 5-star, but he's not the one and done type of 5-star.
Duke is attracting one and dones. Since 2012, Kentucky has the most one and dones. Duke is second. Florida has recruited 5-star players under Mike White. Mike White came from La Tech. So he can recruit really good basketball players. Rick Barnes coached Kevin Durant and didn't get a 5-star player until his 4th year. So that's I just don't I don't agree with that one, Leo. 865-255-03. Who we got next?
We've got Jay.
Jay, good morning.
Swain, good morning, buddy.
What's up?
Oh man, as the world turns, brother, we need our own soap opera.
I mean, this is a good problem though. This is not like other coaching searches. This is not like Donnie Tyndall. This is not like Bruce Pearl. This is not like, when Conzo left. This is not like when Lane Kiffin left. This is not like you firing Butch Jones and then having one of the most embarrassing coaching searches in history. Man, this is a coach who was successful at your school, who won Coach of the Year, who's getting a call from one of the most prestigious basketball programs in the country. This is not the same to me, man. This is like you having a nice lady on your arm walking in the mall, and she's getting looks because she's freaking beautiful, man. This is flattering. It really is.
Like UCLA wants Tennessee's head basketball coach.
This is flattering. This is good. This is what happens. Kentucky goes through this almost every year with Calipari, right? He's mentioned with every NBA job. He's mentioned with other big-time jobs. I mean, this is part of being in the big boy club. When you win, people are going to want you. Pruitt's going to go through this if you win. So we might as well get used to it if we want to win.
Right. Well, I hear what you're saying. I know UCLA's got a good name. I mean, with John Wooden and whatnot, but
that's about it.
To me, there's no question about it. Tennessee right now is a far better job. I've heard things about UCLA that and I've seen some people tweet it out, the mystique of UCLA, it's not even, it fails in comparison to what it actually is behind the scenes. It's not what you think it is. And there's some issues with traveling and recruiting budgets. They have real issues there, and stuff that Tennessee wouldn't have financially. But Russell Bivens of WBIR seems to have the scoop on this for whatever reason. I don't know why.
I think we know why.
This is clear. This is not a money issue, and it can't be, because Rick Barnes is making $3.2 million. Roy Williams is making around $4 million. I'm fine with Rick Barnes getting a pay raise, but you can't pay him $6-7 million if that's what UCLA is paying him. He's not worth that.
Oh no! Well, UCLA only offered Calipari $7.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
No,
UCLA may be desperate.
Yeah.
Okay. Rick Barnes has been, in 31 years of coaching, he's been past the Sweet 16 only 3 times. He got bounced last year in the second round. He didn't win any sort of conference championship this year with a record-setting team. He got bounced in the Sweet 16. I mean, I'm fine with giving him a little bit of a pay bump, giving him more money for his assistants, or if that's what he's to hire the best assistants, I'm fine. But like I said, Roy Williams with 3 national titles is making around $4 million. Rick Barnes is making 3.2. To me, judging by their success on the court, that seems fair.
That's fair.
And you can't open up the bank for 64-year-old Rick Barnes. To me, he's just not worth it. And I'll tell you like this.
That's fair.
I work at a school. I know the man. Coach Forbes would crawl on broken glass to come here. And he would absolutely crush it.
Oh, he would crush it.
The man would absolutely crush it.
He would crush it. No doubt in my mind he would crush it.
I want somebody that wants to be here, and this ain't about money. To me, Barnes is invested from what it seems like in UCLA. And if he can be lured away, then God bless him. I wish him the best. I'm not going to talk about him. But I want somebody who genuinely wants to be here. And I think there's guys out there that would genuinely want to be here. And, after four years or whatever it's been, if UCLA is your dream job, then that's what I say is, peace be to you.
Yep, I think that's fair. I mean, you break it down that way. If Roy Williams is indeed making that type of money in North Carolina, and the dude has won a few championships there. They named a court after him, and he has won championships just like Dean Smith. And so, hey, I can't disagree with that, Jay. Jay and I have not always agreed, but I'm with you. I'm with you, man. That's fair. That's fair. 865-200-5503 Dry Waterproofing Hotline.
You want to get to Zach?
Yeah. Heck yeah, man. Zach.
What's up, Swain?
What's up?
Not much. Nothing like a Monday morning with a potential coaching search.
Oh, I know it, man. This one feels a little different though, but I understand. I think I'm over the coaching searches. They're not fun at all. But this is different. I'm a little flattered that a program like UCLA would want one of our coaches, especially our basketball coach. That means we're doing something right. So, hey, it's part of it. But I hate that Tennessee's in a position, and Tom Sack-Koliaks of the world, the Chris Walkers of the world, the Grant Williams, the Josiah James. You got 2 people that work around the program in a support staff role. You got a current player who is benefited greatly from Rick Barnes and has turned himself into one of the best players in the country. And then you have a player that's coming in as one of the best high school players in the country. They all are different in many ways, but they're all affected by Rick Barnes' decision here.
Well, here's the thing. You want your coaches to leave your program in a better spot than they got it. And he's definitely done that if he does leave. I mean, our program is substantially better than it was when he got here.
Mm-hmm.
And like people are saying, we are in a much better place to hire coaches for basketball than we were when he got here. I think he's done a great job, and if he leaves, I tip my hat to him. And if UCLA is his dream job or whatever, let him go out there. We can get another great coach.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel.
I mean, all respect to him. He's done a heck of a job here. I mean, the most wins in program history. We've had back-to-back SEC player of the year under him, and you got to respect him for it.
Yep. I mean,
so,
I feel the same way. I'm not freaking out. I'm really not. I like where we are. Let's continue our phone calls.
We got JB in Georgia.
JB in Georgia. Good morning.
Hello. How are y'all this morning?
Wonderful. How are you?
So I'm doing well. I think I know why Rick Barnes is wanting to go, or even considering UCLA.
Why is
see,
that?
We're all looking at it because it's a basketball move, it's a financial move. But see, really, we know the most important thing to the right reverend is the Lord Jesus Christ, and we know that LA needs some Jesus Christ, so he's trying to move out there and do some of the Lord's work.
Oh, he need to do that now. LA need it. They need it.
I just wanted to call in also and ask, where are we at on the women's basketball coaching search? I haven't seen anything much on that, and I'm just going to ask, see what y'all knew.
Tennessee is going to talk to, from what I've been told, here's some names. Obviously, everyone knows about Kelly Harper, former Lady Vol player, played for Pat Summitt, point guard. Wes Moore's name has been thrown out at NC State. Nikki Fargas' name has been thrown out. She's a former Tennessee player. Vic Schaefer's name has been thrown out. He's at Mississippi State, which it may be tough to get him. Amanda Butler at Clemson, her name has been thrown out. Tina Langley, his name has been kind of in the mix. We all know about Kara Lawson, and she's a former player. She's actually sits on the board, and she is one of the best broadcasters in the game, regardless of gender. I've also heard about Niele Ivy, who is associate head coach at Notre Dame, assistant.
I'd take her in a heartbeat.
She's
a great recruiter.
Yeah.
She develops the heck out of a guard.
Yep. And so, and then this last one just doesn't make sense to me. I'm a little hesitant to even mention it, but if you're Tennessee, why not knock on the door? But that's Kim Mulkey. He just won a national championship at Baylor.
You call her. She's not going to come, but you at least call her.
Yeah, but I would probably look more at Lawson and Fargas, Harper, Schaefer, probably being more serious right now. But these things are fluid, and Coach Fulmer may have either another coaching search that he will have to conduct, but he certainly he's had to take time away from the women's basketball hire to make sure that Rick Barnes is satisfied, or if Tennessee feels like they can't fulfill his wishes, then letting them go. Here's something else to think about. Remember when UCLA went after Calipari?
Mm-hmm.
Us only mentioning the money that they offered him is not fair, because they offered him more than just money. They offered him a retirement option that will put him as like a spokesman for the school or something like that.
An ambassador, I believe it was.
Yeah, so he would continue to be paid big money for a very, very long time. And so it ain't just about the money. They're offering him a retirement package. Do they offer Rick Barnes the same thing or somewhere close?
Well, again, as I've said numerous times, it's not about money for Rick Barnes. So we can talk about giving him a raise all we want to, but it's not a money issue for Rick Barnes. He, at some point this season, he felt disrespected. And I'm not even going to say by Tennessee, because it appears it was Philip Fulmer, or he feels a certain type of way about how Philip Fulmer has acted towards the basketball program.
According to some reports.
Yes, according to multiple reports. So it's not about money, quite frankly. So I'm interested to see how this plays out, because it appears that in the meeting last night that they had at the Anderson training facility, there were some things that needed to be hashed out.
Good.
And
hash them out.
Hopefully they hashed them out.
Hash them out. Regardless of what happened, if it goes or stays, you still want that to be hashed out because you want Coach Foreman to know for the next time that this happens. So it helps him become a better AD. And you want it hashed out so that way we can get it fixed and Rick Barnes can stay. Either way, it's still good that they talked and laid it all on the table. Hour 2 continues after this.
While the other guys are taking guesses, the Swain Event is taking you behind the scenes and in the huddle every morning from 7 till 10 right here.
We're here with Dr. Mike Carlson of Tennessee Regenerative Sports Medicine. If you have orthopedic injuries such as shoulder pain, knee pain, or instability, Achilles tendonitis, golfers, or tennis elbow, do what I did and give them a call.
Yeah, Jason, we specialize in regenerative non-surgical orthopedics. So we treat damaged ligaments, tendons, and joints, including things like rotator cuff injuries, knee instability, elbow problems, as well as foot problems like plantar fasciitis, Achilles, things of that nature, by injecting with stem cells and what's called PRP, or platelet-rich plasma. And this form of treatment we do under ultrasound, so we know we have our target. And it also stimulates the body's own reparative process, and this allows for the healing of damaged tissue. And as you well know, numerous professional and collegiate athletes, guys like Steph Curry, Tiger Woods, and even yourself with your ankle injury, have been using this form of treatment for years. And so we offer that same type of treatment here in East Tennessee.
Visit them on the web at trsportsmedicine.com. Tennessee Regenerative Sports Medicine, East Tennessee's leader in regenerative therapy.
Top 100 Barbecue restaurant Dead End BBQ is the best place in Knoxville to get your barbecue fix. With new specials and a new menu, there is something for everyone. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, try the Smokehouse Stew. Thursday through Saturday, the Hillbilly Chili is where it's at. Don't forget the half-off wings on Tuesdays from 4 to 8 p.m. and the salmon plate on Friday. The people spoke and Dead End listened, adding Dead End Society favorites like the Bernie Mac, Randall's Kitchen Sink Burrito, and the barbecue cheddar meatloaf to the menu full time. Whether it's a game day or any day, at Dead End BBQ, the mouth-watering barbecue search is over.
We have all made the mistake of dropping or breaking our smartphones. See? But did you know that you can have it repaired for a fraction of the cost that it takes to replace it? Well, you can, because iDrop is the area's leading mobile repair store, home of the 1 hour or less phone repair, 1 year parts warranty, and #1 customer service. Broken screens, cracked cameras, charging ports, batteries, you break it, we'll fix it. If you didn't break your phone, protect it with one of our leading accessories such as LifeProof, OtterBox, UAG, Incipico, Caseology, and Spec. Visit our West Hills location at 7115 Kingston Pike between Office Depot and Hardee's, or call 865-888-9740 and speak with our trained technicians to see how we can get your phone working today.
Are you ready to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? Then call me, Jennifer Morris, with Keller Williams Realty at 865-694-5904. Listen to what the Townsend family had to say.
After having listed our home with another agent, Jennifer's marketing approach was a breath of fresh air. She priced our home competitively, strategized the best time to list, and began planning our open house. She aggressively negotiated with the buyer and kept us informed during the entire process. Jennifer took away the stress of selling our home, and we would not hesitate to use her again in the future.
Are you ready to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? Then call me, Jennifer Morris, with Keller Williams Realty at 865-694-5904.
When you see the happy face on our truck, you'll be smiling because you'll know that you're in love.
It's freezing in here, Mary. What's wrong with your heater? The repairman can't get here till next week. Sugar, you've got the wrong guy. My guy is fast and has free heating service calls when he does the repair.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Hiller. Take advantage of a free service call with any repair.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
You're driving home, flashing blue lights in your rearview mirror. The next thing you know, you're being arrested for DUI. Be responsible, but remember, just because you're arrested doesn't mean you're guilty. Call DUI and criminal defense attorney Marcos Garza. Put this number in your phone right now, 865-540-8300, because you never know when you or a friend will need it. Don't say guilty, say Garza. 865-540-8300 and GarzaLaw.com.
Thinking about trying CBD oil but not sure where to get it or who to trust for a quality supplement? Our friends at Tennessee Valley Hemp Company invite you to try their full spectrum hemp extract, available in 500 milligram and 1,000 milligram strengths. They are a local company based right here in Knoxville whose crops are grown in East Tennessee. Their farmers are committed to cultivating pharmaceutical-grade hemp oil that produces results. It is only available in community pharmacies where you can get questions answered by experienced professionals. If you are unsure whether or not it's okay to take hemp extract with your existing medications, pharmacists are happy to perform interaction checks that keep you safe and healthy. You can find out more by visiting or calling any of these local drugstores. Gordon's Drugstore in Carnes, Vaughn's Drugstore in Powell, Stanford Drugs in New Tazewell, or Farragut Pharmacy in Farragut. Check them out on Facebook at Tennessee Valley Hemp Company, and don't forget to hit the like button. When you buy, remember to ask for the only hemp oil that supports your health and the Power T. Tennessee Valley Hemp Company. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
JC's Tree and Landscaping Service specializes in quality tree work done at an affordable price. Trimming and removing trees are their specialty. They also offer other services like land clearing, stump grinding, crane services, and all of your basic landscaping needs for both commercial and residential. JC's will give you a free estimate and beat any written quote by a competitor to guarantee that you get the lowest price around. Don't risk your land with a fly-by-night service. JC's Tree and Landscaping is licensed and insured. Give them a call at 865-599-3799. Guys, have you noticed lack of energy, motivation, and drive? It could be low T or something else like sleep apnea or even low thyroid. It starts with a quick and easy health assessment to better understand your health. And now they treat more than just low T, including sleep apnea, low thyroid, and more. It is covered by most health insurance. So if you've been feeling grumpy, tired, have you noticed a weight gain or loss of muscle, call 865-392-1388 or go to lowtcenter.com. Low T Center. Reinventing men's healthcare.
You don't have to take an L just because you can't listen to the Swain Event live. You can catch up on the podcast posted daily on the app, online, and on iTunes.
Woo! Coaching searches. Got the women's basketball job open. You got Tennessee trying to hold on to their National Coach of the Year. It would have been a great decision, and it would have been the right decision if they went Rick Barnes or Chris Beard, to be honest, because both of them done a great job here. Rick Barnes done a great job at Tennessee, and Chris Beard's done a great job at Texas Tech. I think you look at Texas Tech playing for a national championship, losing all they lost last year. You can probably say Rick Barnes was fortunate enough to win it over Chris Beard, but you have Tennessee trying to keep their National Coach of the Year right here in Knoxville, and Knoxville needs Rick Barnes. And it's really more than basketball. I mentioned this early in the show, how involved Rick Barnes is with the Emerald Youth organization. Knoxville needs Rick Barnes. It's more than winning. And Rick Barnes has won here. It's more than winning. It's more than winning. Rick Barnes has brought people together. Rick Barnes has changed people's lives. Get on Google, search the Tom Sack-Koak story, written by Mike Wilson there at Knox News. You might cry. Knoxville needs Rick Barnes. And it will be a major blow to the community if Rick Barnes goes. It's bigger than basketball. It's bigger than basketball. So I just hope we do what we need to do
as long as it's reasonable. I doubt Rick Barnes is acting like Austin Powers saying, we want $1 million. The movie Austin Powers. It's not like Rick Barnes is asking for $1 billion here. Or he's asking for the key to the city 365 days out of the year. If what he needs is reasonable for him to continue to be successful, knowing that the league is getting better around him, then you gotta get it done. If you're Tennessee, you gotta show a commitment to winning at a high level. All right, let's get to the phones. 865-255-03. And let's see here. Who we got?
Nathan.
Nathan, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Nathan.
Listen, Swain, you just said something that I think is so important to think through. One thing I want to say is I think if anything from a lot of Tennessee fans, Barnes is underappreciated. Just in the fact that I think you hear all the pearl stuff.
It's annoying.
Instead of really appreciating what we got.
It's so annoying.
And one thing with him that I love, you never have to worry about recruiting violations. You never have to worry about anything like that. And the community, he's just such a high character guy. And there may be better basketball coaches, but I just think it's such a good fit. And I think that's why it's so important that he stays. And I hope he does, because for me right now, I don't know another coach I'd rather have than Barnes. I just, like I said, I think he does it the right way, and it's good for the community and good for the kids. But hopefully he stays, and then everybody will realize what a gem we have in him. But I just wanted to know your thoughts on that.
I agree with you 100%. There's not a coach I would rather have right now. That for our community, for this school, where we are right now, that delivers the total package like Rick Barnes. I mean, you're winning, you're doing it the right way, you're molding young men, and you have a huge impact on the Knoxville community. I agree with you 100%. Now, if Rick Barnes decides to leave, I think Tennessee can go out and get a good basketball coach. But I would prefer Rick Barnes to stay. 100%. I'm with you. I agree. Thanks for the phone call. Thank you. Who we got next?
Nobody.
No. Light was lighting up over there. My bad. Youth and experience. I've only been doing this for a couple of years. Not long enough.
You've been doing it longer than a couple of years.
Well, see, what happened was, yeah, you're right. 865-255-03B, Dry Waterproofing Hotline. Let's take a look at the text box this morning. 87 Vol, who do you think are realistic candidates to replace Barnes if he leaves? I don't know right now. I mean, I do know one, and that would be Steve Forbes, but I don't know about others, to be honest, right now. Right now, I don't. So I think we should probably cross that bridge when we get there, if we get there. Johnson, Virginia, we all know football is king, brings in the most money. How far behind is basketball? Even if it's not close, it still deserves more attention from Coach Former. We'll hate to lose a man of character like Barnes over disrespect. With that said, I know Tennessee's in a good spot. Now, the whole thing about Rick Barnes not feeling respected, that was reported by someone else. And I don't know if that's 100% or not. I certainly respect the folks who have put that out. But I'm not going to act like that is a 100% fact. I'm not, because it could be, hey, I just have a little problem with this comment. And it could not be disrespect. Like, it could be, hey, man, I just want to make sure that we're good and that we get what we need, but not feel like you were disrespected. So I don't want to put that narrative out that Barnes felt disrespected, because I don't 100% know that. I don't. I think what we have proven over the last 10 years is that, yeah, we love football, but we love Tennessee basketball too. The numbers tell you that. And the unfortunate petition a couple of years ago, that pride, even though it went in the wrong direction, that tells you that too. That yeah, people care about basketball around here. People love basketball around here. I don't know money wise how far it is behind football. Football brings in, like top 5, top 10 money in the country. So I don't know that answer off the top of my head.
I don't really like to base where the basketball program sits within the SEC based off of kind of the football program, because in terms of SEC basketball, I mean, facilities wise, Tennessee basketball is up there with just about anybody. There are teams that are ahead of Tennessee, Kentucky. I believe Arkansas just completely built a brand new basketball training facility. So there are a couple of programs that are ahead of Tennessee, but it's not like Tennessee baseball to where Tennessee baseball is like the worst in the league.
Yeah. As long as you're in top third.
They're top 5 in terms of facilities and resources. And there's really the standard isn't to win a national championship or make a Final Four every single year, but Tennessee is a good enough basketball job where the standard is to 100% make the tournament every single year. And then going off of that, make a Sweet 16 Elite 8 run every 2 or 3 years, in my opinion. I mean, we've seen Tennessee make the Sweet 16 twice this decade, and think of all the turmoil that Tennessee basketball has gone through.
I mean, we made the Sweet 16 with one of the best Tennessee teams ever. I mean, I think a Sweet 16 every 2-3 years.
You think that's asking too much?
Every 2-3 years, yeah. Because I don't even think.
I think
the Tom Izzo's of the world and other coaches who have had more success have really done that. I think there's a small group of coaches that can sit here and say that they have made the Sweet 16 every 2 to 3 years. I think that's tough.
That's fair. Okay, it may be a little too tough, but my point being is that the expectation should be to make the tournament every single season, and then every couple of years you do have to make a Sweet 16 Elite 8 run.
Yeah, I think
you can't just settle for making the first or second round of the tournament.
I think it's fair to say to make a tournament every single year, and if you have a first round or second round exit, that it's fair to be disappointed.
Correct.
Like, it's okay to be disappointed. Like, now if you have a team like this year's team and you lose in the second round, you should be upset.
Yes.
So.
Or last year's team. I think you should be upset. Yeah. In hindsight, now last year there wasn't as much disappointment because Tennessee kind of came out of nowhere, picked to finish 13th, go on, win the SEC, play in the SEC title game. Grant Williams is SEC Player of the Year. Barnes is SEC Coach of the Year. Lamonte Turner, SEC Sixth Man of the Year. Nobody expected that going into the season, and then you make it to the tournament, and immediately after, it wasn't necessarily disappointment in terms of how far Tennessee basketball made it in the tournament, but looking back on it in hindsight, it kind of feels like the 2015 Tennessee football team under Butch Jones, where at the time they went 7-5 that year, 8-4 in 15, and then they won a 9th in the Outback Bowl versus Northwestern.
Yeah, they won 8 games and then 9 games in the bowl game.
But it feels like they should have done more. It feels like that was, although everybody talked about the 2016 team, looking back on it, 2015 was probably Butch Jones' best football team.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what it feels like right now with Tennessee basketball, that maybe last year's team was better than this year's, although this year did get to the #1 ranking. And last year's team, I'm saying all that to say, last year's tournament run was a disappointment in hindsight, although it didn't feel as big of a disappointment at the time it happened.
Yeah, I think we can say that it doesn't matter which team was better, but last year's team had a chance to go further because the team they lost to on a bounce where Cal Alexander was out, and that team went to the Final Four. This team, I think, is better than last year's team, but it's about the draw.
Correct.
And it's about a little bit of luck, too. I think last year's team had a chance to go further.
Well, especially because you look at the matchups that Tennessee would have had down the road. Loyola Chicago benefited from some teams being upset during that run.
Yeah. Josie Wells says, do you think Ballmer
not Balmer, but Barnes just interviewing for the job will cause bad blood with Former. No, it shouldn't. Like, this is business. This is, we have to understand that this is business. You won National Coach of the Year. You have all the leveraging power. You have to go and replace 2 assistant coaches. Assistant coaches are very, very important. Look at Kentucky with Coach Calipari. Yes, he makes a lot of money. Yes, he's good. But, man, he has a former head coach, a former SEC head coach, as his assistant. And Tony Barbie. Like, you got to have good assistants. And Barnes usually sat on the bench during the games because he trusted his players, he trusted his assistants. And Rob Lanier is a former head coach himself. So you have to replace Rob Lanier, and you have to probably replace Desmond Oliver if he goes and takes the Kennesaw State job or any other job. So there needs to be the same type of commitment. I'm not saying same type of money, but it needs to be the same type of commitment to get good assistants that we showed when we went out and we got Derek Ansley, that we got Jim Chaney, that we got T. Martin. Because basketball has proven that they actually deserve it more than football. If you just go off who deserves it more, well, basketball proved they deserved it more because they've actually done more with less. Whereas football, they need it to even have a chance, and we know if they win, they make more money for the university. So I don't think anybody thinks that Rick Barnes wants this is about Rick Barnes lining his own pockets. But let's look at the writing on the wall here. Rick Barnes has to replace possibly two big-time assistants. And the conference is attracting big-time coaches. So other coaches understand that they got to have good assistants too. If you're not willing to do it, someone else is willing to do it. And we got to make sure that we are willing to supply Rick Barnes with some of the best assistants that we can.
With Rick Barnes kind of realizing he has to replace 2 out of his top 3, because I actually think Michael Schwartz is actually more important than Desmond Oliver. He is highly regarded amongst the ranks of college basketball. I believe it was Sam Vecini last night when it was kind of mentioned that Rick Barnes was looking at the UCLA job and UCLA had made Rick Barnes a priority. Sam Vecini made the point that Rick Barnes' style of play doesn't necessarily fit, what UCLA fans expect from its basketball team. But then he responded that Schwartz going out there with Barnes makes them feel a little better about a pure basketball fit. Mm-hmm. I think he was actually having that conversation with Nathaniel Rutherford, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, do you think that Barnes having to replace potentially 2 out of his top 3 assistants, Barnes has used this UCLA gig to kind of wake Tennessee up and say, hey, UCLA wants me. They're willing to well, I would say they're willing to pay the assistants, but that's been the knock on UCLA basketball is that the administration has not been willing to pony up and pay its assistant coaches. The staff salaries at UCLA is not great. That's been their one knock. So I don't know. I was going to ask you if you think Rick Barnes is using UCLA as a play to really help his assistants out, but then when you look at UCLA, they don't really pay their assistant coaches either.
Okay, UCLA, there's been a stigma that they don't pay their assistant coaches. There's also a stigma that Tennessee shops at the dollar store for their coaches. And what happened? We got serious in this last year. We went out, we got a strength coach, and we paid him $600,000. We went out and we said, you know what? We want Jim Chaney. Here's 1.6. We went out. We got Derek Ansley. We got T. Martin. So we kind of bucked the negative narrative that we're cheap. UCLA can do the same thing. Yeah, they could very well have a negative narrative that they wouldn't willing to pay coaches, and they could learn, okay, that don't work. Like, we can't do that. It's time to pony up now. And we're going to start with Rick Barnes. We're going to start saying, you know what? It ain't all about the head coach. It's about supplying him with enough help. And who better understands that than Coach Former? Coach Former understands that. Man, Coach Former was not a helicopter coach. Coach Former had John Chavis. He had David Cutcliffe. He had a staff that allowed him to go kiss the babies. He had a staff that allowed him to go to speaking engagements. He didn't have to sit over head coaches' shoulders. He let them do their job. So if anyone understands that dynamic, Coach Former understands that dynamic, which he should be more than happy to help Rick Barnes achieve the same thing so he can have long-term success. Assistants deserve a whole lot more credit than what they get. They really do. They really do. Rick Barnes was and it seems like the heavy-handed, stern, you got to have a good cop, bad cop. That was Rob Lanier. You got to replace Rob Lanier with another guy that when Rick Barnes come down hard on you, that you can go to and that coach says, listen, man, this is what Rick Barnes means. This is what you got to do. I've known Rick. This is what he means. You got to have that type of dynamic inside of a locker room. If the head coach is jumping on a player on a football field, the position coach has to be the one who says, all right, man, listen, man, this is what Pruitt wants from you. You got to have different voices sometimes for a player. You got to have that good cop, bad cop dynamic. And so these decisions are very, very important for Rick Barnes. They are important.
As an assistant coach is to any basketball program or football program or baseball program, you know, the head coach always gets the praise and the blame, and rightfully so. And they, in the case of Rick Barnes winning National Coach of the Year, when he was awarded the award by the USA Basketball Writers Association, he was quick to point out that he would not have been able to have had the success that he had if it weren't for Rob Lanier, Desmond Oliver, Mike Schwartz, his coaching staff, his strength coach, and things of that nature.
Which is why Brian Niedermeyer needs a raise.
Correct. ASAP. Pronto. Why has he not already been given a raise?
You're only good as your staff, man. And once your staff goes out and makes things happen, you got to reward them. Because if you don't, someone else will. Someone else will. Very, very important. I hope that everyone is sitting back learning a lesson about what's going on with Rick Barnes and the UCLA, Tennessee situation. You got to pay for good people. You got to have good people around you. You can't do it all by yourself. You just can't. Hour 3 coming up.
For what is coming up on the Swain Event.
Showers and possibly a thunderstorm today with a high of 72 and a low of 58. The chance of rain drops to 30% tomorrow with a high near 76 and a low around 50. Sunshine on Wednesday with a high in the mid-70s. Weather on the Swain Event is brought to you by Be Dry. If your basement is wet or cracked, Be Dry can help. BeDry.com. Be Dry is celebrating 60 years of protecting homes across the U.S. They are the basement and crawl space experts. There has been historic rainfall in East Tennessee recently. If you are experiencing wet foundation walls, puddles on your floor, or water where your floor and wall meet, then you should call Be Dry. They have over 500,000 customers nationwide. Be Dry gives free estimates for all homeowners, financing is available, and if you mention the Swain Event, Be Dry will give you $500 off a full perimeter basement waterproofing solution. Wet basement? Better call Be Dry, 865-588-0454 or online at BeDry.com.
Do you want a custom themed tumbler or bottle to show off your team spirit every day of the week? Well, look no further than Game Time Sidekicks. Every design has you, the fan, in mind. Their tumblers and bottles are double-walled, vacuum-insulated stainless steel, and their quality is second to none in the market. From stainless steel sippy cups to tumblers and sports bottles, Game Time Sidekicks offers something for the fan of all ages to rep their team with. They have many different logo options, so fans will have something they are proud to carry around all the time. Use promo code SWAIN at checkout to get 20% off of your entire purchase at GameTimeSidekicks.com. They also offer $5 flat rate shipping. Be sure to check out the Game Time Workshop on the website and customize your tumbler to make it one of a kind with things like your nickname, number, or initials. Game Time Sidekicks. Show your colors and carry your team.
Hour 3 of the Swain event is brought to you by the Low T Center and LowTCenter.com. Do you know your numbers? Feel like you again. Let us help.
VFL's Jason Swain and Todd Kelly here with our Men on Football and Smoothie segment. Let's discuss some of our favorite smoothies and how they impact our lives. TK, man, tell me which smoothie comes to mind when you think about playing defense?
Swain-O, the Peanut Butter Power Plus and the Power Punch Plus provide the energy needed to make plays every time they take the field. Then you have the Gladiator and the Hawk, nutrition every dominant player has to have. Bottom line, everyone wants to be a dominant player. Now, Swain, you tell me about the offensive side of the ball.
TK, it's simple. You always score with Smoothie King. The shredder personifies what we are going to do to opposing defenses. The Berry Punch and Activator will light up the scoreboard. And in case we need to go into overtime, the Pure Recharge will put us over the top for the win.
Swain-O, you know I love football and Smoothie King. I'm a VFL, a Smoothie King for life. The Chocolate Gladiator and the Chocolate Shredder with the scoop of peanut butter, oh, that's my go-to smoothie. They get a chest bump all day.
Yes, sir. This concludes our Men on Football and Smoothie King segment for today. Don't forget the Sip by Sip program. Use Smoothie King as a meal replacement 5 or more times a week, and you will feel and see the difference. Smoothie King, the healthy alternative to fast food. Delicious and nutritious. TK.
Don't forget the peanut butter. Yeah, boy.
In debt? In too deep? Alcoa 10 Federal Credit Union says, stop treading water and get out of the deep end. If you've got debt, make a splash and come get some cash. If Alcoa 10 Federal Credit Union can refinance your car, boat, camper, motorcycle, credit cards, personal or home loan, they'll pay you up to $500. So come take the plunge right now. Refinance your loans. Alcoa 10 Federal Credit Union will pay you. 5 convenient locations. Visit atfcu.com. Equal housing lender.
You're listening to the Swain event, fueled by Dead End BBQ. Check them out online at deadendbbq.com.
Eight-6-5 255-03 Beat Dry Waterproofing Hotline. Swain Events fueled by Dead End BBQ. Happy Healer. Follow them on Twitter. Go to their website. Learn all about their true transparency pricing, where you know the cost of your part plus a fair service repair fee of that part before you commit to any repairs. You get that information up front. They cover the volunteer state from Memphis to Knoxville, including Bowling Green, Kentucky, and Huntsville, Alabama. A lot to get to in the next 35 minutes or so before we talk a little Vanderbilt basketball. They did, in fact, hire Jerry Stackhouse, and we will be joined by Zach Ellis to talk about Vanderbilt's move inside of the conference.
And to talk Vanderbilt spring game, because we're starting our spring tour around the SEC with all the spring games happening within this 3-week span.
It's happening, man. Tennessee is happening this weekend. Of course, we want the attendance to be good. We don't want anyone to get hurt, and we want the fans to be able to see kind of what these guys have been working on since January. There's a lot of optimism coming from the Tennessee football locker room. They feel like they got something to prove. You can kind of tell by some of the comments on Twitter. But they are just that, comments on Twitter. They don't block, they don't catch, they don't tackle, they don't execute. You still got to do those things. But these guys certainly feel confident because they are getting some of the best coaching around and a lot better coaching than they have had in the past. 865-255-03. The big topic today is Rick Barnes being sought after by UCLA. UCLA has struck out all season, it seems like. I mean, you let go of Steve Alford early in the season. You've had all this time, and you have gotten to Rick Barnes, a 64-year-old National Coach of the Year who is 190 miles away from Hickory, North Carolina, where he was born, and all his family is on this side of the coast, on the right coast. Does have a daughter that lives in Texas, so he has ties there to Texas. No reason why Rick Barnes should not get everything he needs to stay here in Knoxville. But this is a business. This is a business, and if you are upset, if you're like upset at Rick Barnes right now, not knowing what he's going to do, then I think you would agree, Ben, you probably need to check yourself a little bit and tone it down and understand that it is a business, and the best time to get what you want is right now as a coach, after you have won and after you have been nationally recognized.
Yeah, I mean, it would be silly for him not to at least listen to UCLA, because we can talk about how UCLA it is not what UCLA once was, but it is still a big brand name amongst the ranks of college basketball. And, John Calipari did not jump at the offer to go coach there. They weren't willing to pay the buyout for Jamie Dixon at TCU. But, when UCLA calls, it still catches the eye of nearly every single coach across America, except for the Roy Williams and the Coach K's. And, heck, it even caught Calipari's eye for about a week. And so Rick Barnes would be silly not to at least listen to what UCLA has to offer.
Vol on the street on the text box says, there's collusion here. Let's blame Calipari for this. He probably recommended Rick to get up out of here. Well, he did recommend Rick Barnes to Tennessee.
I'm sure Coach Cal was on the phone with UCLA last night suggesting that they go get Rick Barnes. And I'm sure he was on the phone with Rick Barnes last night too, suggesting that Rick Barnes take the UCLA job.
Coach Cal told UCLA, nah, I'm good, but let me tell you who you should talk to.
You should go get that Rick Barnes guy at Tennessee.
Talk to this guy that I have not been able to have a winning record against while he's been at Tennessee. Tennessee Slugger says, what do you make of the players' comments about Rick Barnes after the season? If you're referring to what Admiral Schofield's tweet?
I saw that message, and that was the only thing I could think of.
Or Lamonte shaking his head or deleting a tweet when Rick Barnes did not back his player on the foul.
Those are the only two quote-unquote comments that I can think of. There was nothing said to that extent in the locker room following the game, and we have not heard from any of the players since that final game. The only players we've heard from are Admiral on social media and then Jordan Bone posting that video of him declaring for the draft.
Rick seems to defend Lamonte a little bit more now than he did after the game. His initial reaction was that, hey, it was a foul. A foul's a foul. But it seems like he has been more willing to back Lamonte a little bit, and he definitely should, especially what happened after the Final Four game between Auburn and Virginia, because that was a clear foul. I don't get what people are looking at. And I mean, the folks who was like, that's not a foul. Huh?
And the part about it that I did not get, because I knew the moment they called it, even though it was 100% a foul, I knew there were going to be people that complain. What I don't get is the people who watch basketball on a regular basis who don't think that was a foul. You can't bump the shooter midair and then on top of that give him zero space to land and expect for a foul not to be called.
Yeah.
Now, they did miss the double dribble, 100%. That was a bad miscall, but I'll point this out. Everybody missed it.
Everybody missed it.
Bryce Brown did not realize it in the moment, and Bryce Brown admitted that after the game. The coaches did not recognize it. I saw Seth Davis say that nobody on Media Row recognized it. They don't have the benefit of the camera like we do on television. So
everyone missed it. Everyone missed it.
I don't understand how. But to your point, I don't understand how folks look at that foul on the 3-point on the 3-point shot and think that it wasn't a foul. It was 100% a foul. And what irritates me is when people say, "Oh, swallow the whistle at that point in the game." Huh? So why should we throw the rule book out of the door just because there's a second left in the game? It makes zero sense to me.
It was definitely a foul. There's no doubt about it. And it was a different foul than Lamonte's foul.
Correct.
It was not the same exact play. It was a foul on 3-point shot, but it wasn't the same exact play. Kyle Guy did not kick his leg out. Number one, he's a right-handed shooter. His momentum was carrying him to his left, and so he had to flip his shoulders around to square up to the basket and shoot the basketball at a long distance, and still did not kick his leg out and was hit. Carson Edwards was a right-handed shooter and was going to the right side and kicked his leg out slightly more than Kyle Guy, and Lamonte was jumping past him, which is why he hit his leg. And the Auburn player jumped right into Kyle Guy. It was a different play.
Mm-hmm.
It was a different play.
It was.
It was a right call on the 3-point foul, but they missed a double dribble. Kyle Guy, how clutch is that? You learn at an early age when you're playing basketball how important free throws are and how important it is to get a routine, stick with that routine, and focus on the basket and not noise or people in the stands. And Kyle Guy blocked out every possible thing that could have sent that game to overtime and possibly lose. He went to the line and made all three.
Impressive. I mean, Carson Edwards didn't even do that when he was fouled against Tennessee. He missed the first one and then had to make the next two. I just don't. People just complain just to complain at this point in terms of the fouls. If it's, I don't even understand the whole questionable call at the end. There was a missed call with the double dribble, but that wasn't a questionable foul call. It was a foul and should have been called whether it was a minute into the basketball game or if there's a minute left in the game. That gets called in the NBA every single night. That foul call, you have to give the shooter room to land. And Samir Dowdy, unfortunately, I feel bad for the kid. I really do. But kudos to him. We didn't do attaboy today because of the whole Rick Barnes situation, but my attaboy was going to be to Samir Dowdy because he turns around, goes to the locker room, and at the lowest point of his basketball career, he handled 30 cameras in his face like a professional, and yet the referee who does have to make that call in that moment and the referee who misses the double dribble doesn't have to face any sort of media.
Yeah, I thought Bruce Pearl did a great job too, man. Yeah, I saw a side of Bruce Pearl that I was really proud of him. The way he was the leader of his basketball team and how they took the high road and let us rip the referees. The outcome's not going to change if they do it. T-Vols 37-6 either must have missed us talking about this or maybe needs a hearing aid. But we did bring up some of the names there mentioned with the Lady Vols opening. And those names, again, for T-Vols is Kara Lawson, who, from what I heard and people have told me, wants the job. She wants the job. Now, she is unlike anyone else on the list. She does not have any head coaching experience because Amanda Butler has head coaching experience. She's at Clemson. Vic Schaefer's at Mississippi State. He's obviously has head coaching experience. He was one shot away from winning the whole thing last year. Nikki Fargas, former Lady Vol, she has head coaching experience. And folks are going to not be excited about Nikki Fargas because she hasn't lit the world on fire at LSU. But you take the ability to recruit a better player, a better quality player. You can say the same thing for Nikki Fargas as you can say for Kelly Harper. You can say the same thing about Wes Moore or Amanda Butler. You're going to recruit better players at Tennessee. The question is, can you manage them and develop them? That's the only thing.
That is what has been missing the last 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
And I 100% believe, going back to Kara Lawson, she would be capable of holding the ladies accountable, disciplining them when they need to be disciplined, which it sounds simple. It sounds middle schoolish, high schoolish, but that's what's been missing from the program the last couple of years.
I think Kara's a master communicator.
Master communicator.
The question is, can she put a staff together? Again, this is about staff. Can she put a staff together that will develop talent? Tennessee basketball will recruit at a high level with the Lady Vols program. There's not a doubt in my mind. Westmore, NC State will do the same thing. Kelly Harper will do the same thing. She will recruit. Ivy, associate head coach in Notre Dame, she would do the same thing. These are all names that I've heard been thrown out there. Kim Mulkey won a championship last night at Baylor. Is
that a third?
Third, yep, that's her third, and it's only been one, two. I think she's the third or fourth coach in college basketball women's game that won more than 3 national championships. Gino, Pat, and I want to say, Muffet McGraw. Did she win 3 in Notre Dame?
I don't know. I know that Muffet has won multiple, but I don't know how many.
But anyways, that is the list. Also, Tina Langley at Rice. So
it's just Gino, Pat, and now Kim Mulkey as the only women's basketball coaches with 3 or more titles. Muffet McGraw has 2.
Gotcha. All right. Kara wants it. Kara is probably the most popular choice that is realistic.
When you say popular, do you mean popular amongst like former Lady Vols or popular amongst the fan base?
All included. Because I think either way you're going to go, there's going to be people that's not going to like it, that's going to poke holes in it.
People already don't like it, and that was going to be my question to you. What would you say to those who are constantly bringing up, well, she's never had any head coaching experience?
Would they say the same thing about Candace Parker? I want to know that. If they would, then okay. Then they really are poking holes in it for that reason. You know how, like, you have fake outrage? You know how, like, some folks were using the Penn State stuff with Graciano as a shield because they just didn't want him as a coach? There were some folks who did that. Not everyone did that, but there were some folks who did that. Some folks. So if you don't want Kara Lawson because you don't have any head coaching experience, then you can't say you want Candace Parker either, okay? If that is your true reason, then, hey, that's fair. I understand those concerns. Well, that means you should be okay with Nikki Fargas, or you should be okay with Kelly Harper if that's your only concern. Do you want someone who has won at a high level? Because that don't always guarantee success either. I can give you an example of Dave Serrano in Tennessee baseball, who won at a high level before he got to Tennessee, and Dave Serrano got here, and it appeared like he forgot how to coach baseball.
What about the example of Mike Anderson at Arkansas? Mike Anderson was very good at Missouri, at UAB. He took Missouri to a Final Four, did he not?
He made a run. I don't know how deep it was.
I believe he made a Final Four. His UAB teams were always really good, and then he gets to Arkansas, and he had success in terms of making the tournament and being relevant within the SEC, but he never won to the extent that Arkansas fans expect, and that really bit him in the butt. But here's what I would say to those who are kind of weary about Kara Lawson not having any coaching experience. I understand being worried because although I do believe Kara Lawson could get the job done and I would be a fan of the hire, it does worry me a little bit that she does not have any coaching experience. I don't know how it couldn't worry somebody at least a little bit. But what about Mike Mayock? I know it's a little different circumstance. Mike Mayock didn't have any general manager experience when he was working with the NFL Network before the Raiders hired him, and we're just a couple months in, but he's made some really good moves for the Raiders. My point being that just because somebody is on television And just because they don't have any experience in that field just yet doesn't mean that they would be a bad hire. It doesn't mean that they would just simply not get the job done.
Yeah, I think you can poke holes in every single candidate that's named. Mike Anderson took his Missouri team in 2008, 2009 to the Elite Eight. So they were one round short of the Final Four, but he had a special season there at Missouri in 2008, 2009. So yeah, that's a really good point there about Mike Anderson. Again, we can poke holes in every single Lady Vol candidate here, and you can poke holes. You could have poked holes in Jeremy Pruitt hire.
Yeah,
I mean you could
absolutely.
Have. I mean you
can poke holes in just about any hire of any sport of at any level. Dude, in my opinion.
Remember when John Gruden's name was mentioned with the Tennessee football job? Man, you could have poked holes in that. Never coached in college. Wasn't the best when it came to relationships, which is what you need more at the college game than the NFL game. So we can poke holes in anything.
Now, I will one last thing on Kara Lawson before we move on. The one thing I would say, I've mentioned it before I tweeted it out, I am on board with hiring Kara Lawson. I think she would do a great job, but I don't want to get to Kara Lawson until after we have called Dawn Staley, called Vic Schaefer, Jeff Walls. We obviously did call. Yeah. Call those big-time coaches and then make them say no, and then after that, then go back to the drawing board and then give Kara Lawson a strong look. That's the only thing I would say.
Yeah, and the Jeff Walls thing wasn't like people thought it was. I don't think Louisville was really tore up about the possibility of losing him, and I don't think Tennessee felt that was a good fit.
No, and Tennessee wasn't willing to pay the $2 million that he reportedly wanted.
Yeah.
Which that's a lot of money for a coach with some baggage like he has.
Baggage is a good word there, Ben. Good job. Good word there. That's the way we can say it without going any further. I think that's a good one. 865-250-503. Stay with us.
Hour 3 of the Swain Event is brought to you by the Low T Center and LowTCenter.com. Do you know your numbers? Feel like you again. Let us help.
Have you noticed lack of energy, motivation, and drive? Call the Low T Center and schedule a complete health assessment today. Whether you have sleep apnea and need a CPAP or have low testosterone or low thyroid levels, Low T Center will get you feeling great again. If you're a man over 30 and haven't had an annual checkup, don't wait until you feel bad. Do yourself a favor and get a quick and easy health assessment today. Services are covered by most health insurance. Call 865-392-1388 or go to lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Top 100 Barbecue Restaurant Dead End BBQ is the best place in Knoxville to get your barbecue fix. With new specials and a new menu, there is something for everyone. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, try the Smokehouse Stew. Thursday through Saturday, the Hillbilly Chili is where it's at. Don't forget the half-off wings on Tuesdays from 4 to 8 p.m. and the salmon plate on Friday. The people spoke and Dead End listened, adding Dead End Society favorites like the Bernie Mac, Randall's Kitchen Sink Burrito, and the Barbecue Cheddar Meatloaf to the menu full time. Whether it's a game day or any day, at Dead End BBQ, the mouth-watering barbecue search is over.
Are you looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? Then call me, Jennifer Morris, at 865-694-5904. Listen to what the Tarver family had to say.
Jennifer was our realtor recently and helped us find our dream home. She also helped us sell our home, and we had a signed contract in only 2 days. Her greatest strengths are her patience and personality. We never felt pressured, and I would highly recommend her in buying and selling a home.
Call me, Jennifer Morris, at 865-694-5904 or email me at jennifermorris865@gmail.com.
When you see the happy face on our truck, you'll be smiling because you'll know that you're in love.
It's freezing in here, Mary. What's wrong with your heater? The repairman can't get here till next week. Sugar, you've got the wrong guy. My guy is fast and has free heating service calls when he does the repair.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Hiller. Take advantage of a free service call with any repair.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
JC's Tree and Landscaping Service specializes in quality tree work done at an affordable price. Trimming and removing trees are their specialty. They also offer other services like land clearing, stump grinding, crane services, and all of your basic landscaping needs for both commercial and residential. JC's will give you a free estimate and beat any written quote by a competitor to guarantee that you get the lowest price around. Don't risk your land with a fly-by-night service. JC's Tree and Landscaping is licensed and insured. Give them a call at 865-599-3799.
For a replay of each day's Swain Event TV, like us on Facebook.
Hour 3, powered by Low T Center and lowtcenter.com, reinventing men's healthcare. 6 locations in Tennessee. Know your numbers. Low T Center is reinventing men's healthcare. A new approach to men's wellness. Medical providers at the Low T Center are reinventing men's health by working to prevent, slow, or eliminate serious health issues. I have my CPAP machine because of sleep apnea. Had one since 2011 and recently just got a new one through the Low T Center. So now they are addressing not only low testosterone, but they also are addressing sleep apnea and low thyroid. So make sure you make a decision to take care of yourself. By taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your family. Give Low T Center a call. Here in Knoxville, their telephone number is 865-392-1388. Tennessee got a commitment over the weekend. Ebony Jackson, running back from the state of Georgia, Marietta. Class of 2020 from Kell High School, again, there in Marietta. So 6'1", 205. Look at the rankings. You still got to take the rankings with a grain of salt. We understand how the staff is going to recruit. They're not going to let the rankings tell them who they should and should not get. But he is a 3-star, and he is 45th at his position, according to 247 Sports. And so is he a kid who has not camped a lot? Is he a kid that has a couple pop off the paper intangibles like quickness or speed?
Oh, he has and that's what I was going to bring up.
Well,
when you look on paper, he chose Tennessee over scholarship offers from Ole Miss and East Carolina. Not necessarily
like
the
Chris
greatest
Johnson,
look.
East Carolina?
Chris Johnson, East Carolina. And you mentioned he's a 3-star, and when Tennessee gets a commitment from a 3-star, we always talk about, does he have one intangible that Tennessee can't teach? And he does. He is fast as all get out. He has a personal record of a 10.57 seconds in the 100 meters. So he is a blazer.
Need that,
and
man.
Tennessee's running back room needs that. Tennessee upgraded the team speed or the running back room speed with Eric Gray, but this kid, A, he has a fantastic name, and B, he upgrades the speed at the running back position.
Need it. You need it, no doubt. You wonder about kind of what Pruitt is looking for in a running back based on what they had at Alabama. You know, the bigger backs, and the Derrick Henrys, and the guys who were not lightning fast, but they were able to wear that on defense in the second half, and they were able to rotate them in and out. Ebony Jackson's 195, 205 pounds, somewhere around there, and so they must like him to take his commitment right now.
And Georgia has been, I guess you could say, slow playing him. Georgia has shown him interest. Georgia Tech has also shown him interest, but they have yet to extend an offer to him. But Mr. Ebony says that he's probably cutting off all the other schools and that he's kind of ready for the recruitment to be done. So hopefully it's not like a Jordan Young situation, the receiver Tennessee found in Pruitt's first class, and he ends up flipping to Florida State. Sounds like this one will actually stick with Tennessee.
This is going to happen. Like, there's going to be schools outside of Tennessee that's going to say, hey, man, Tennessee's slow playing you. Come on. We'll take you. It just happened with Quez Glover in basketball. It's happened in football a couple times. You know, Georgia has kind of done that to Tennessee with Zion Logue in this past class. Tennessee was kind of slow playing, and Georgia offered, and boom, it was done. Well, Tennessee's going to benefit from that in Georgia too. Georgia's going to do the same thing. It happens. It happens. It just looks worse for Tennessee because Tennessee is not playing for a national championship and SEC championships right now. Looks worse when Tennessee slow plays a kid and someone else gets him. 865-250-503, B-Dry Waterproofing Hotline. Let's get to Titans Bill. Titans Bill, good morning.
Good morning, Jason. How are you, my good friend?
I'm good, man. How are you, Titans Bill?
I'm doing all right. So it looks like UCLA is offering Coach Barnes Rodeo Drive type money.
I'm sure. Yeah, you can do a little shopping on Rodeo Drive with about $4 million a year, $4 or $5 million a year.
And you look at the history, the tradition over there at UCLA, and look at all the banners that they've won. You know, all the national championships. Mostly, a lot of them were under the great John Wooden. And it would be very tantalizing, having a school like UCLA offer you a sizable amount of money. I wouldn't turn it down.
I don't think it's about the money for Rick Barnes lining his own pockets. I think it's about making sure the people around him are good, because you look at this in the last couple of weeks, he's had one coach get a head coaching job. He's going to have another one possibly get a head coaching job. If you want to attract some of the best assistants in the country, the money and the possibility of you going out and getting a head coaching job, man, that's going to be very attractive. I mean, Nick Saban is a butthead. Everyone knows that. But assistant coaches tell themselves, okay, I'm going to get paid, and I can stomach it for 1 year because I know I'm going to get a raise or a head coaching job or a coordinator job. And so Rick Barnes should be able to create that same type of environment here for assistant coaches because he allows them to do their job.
I'm thinking, boy, the head coach that you used to play for right now, he's running into a problem. First of all, trying to find another head coach for the Lady Vol basketball program, and now this.
I mean, it could be a problem if you make the wrong decision. Titans Bill. Yeah, I mean, it could be. I don't think it's been a problem yet. It's a potential problem, Titans Bill. I mean, I thought Coach Fulmer made the right decision in letting Holly Warlick go, and we have not seen any problems or anything, haven't heard anything messy happening from that separation in relationship with that relationship. So the next decision will determine if Coach Fulmer's in trouble or if he has a problem. I mean, you're going to have to hire and fire coaches. That's part of your job as AD.
Yeah. You're looking at the history of UCLA basketball. I know that there's several players that when played for Wooden that made names for themselves in the NBA. But there's one made a name for himself as an actor, and he was a teammate of Lou Alcindor. He was also an All-American.
Who you talking about, Titans Bill?
And his name happened to be Michael Warren, who played the role of Officer Bobby Hill in the television series Hill Street Blues.
Bringing the facts, Titansville. Bringing the facts. Hey, Titansville. Coach Fulmer signed up to be the AD. You're not going to be AD without making tough decisions. Firing and hiring folks. This is not a problem, in my opinion. This is something that every AD face. If you win, you're going to face this. Other schools will want your coach. Duke's AD has even had to worry about Coach K maybe going to the Lakers one time. When you win, this is what happens. This is what happens. Coach Fulmer's going to earn his AD label right here.
He most definitely is. I think I joked with you before the show started. Coach Fulmer wanted to be the athletic director at Tennessee. Boy, is he ever the athletic director right now. Yeah. He is learning quick, fast, and in a hurry. I do find it interesting because I agree with you. I don't believe that, this has anything to do with money pertaining to Rick Barnes himself. It's interesting to me that Philip Fulmer and the rest of Tennessee's administrators just got done opening up the Brinks truck to any assistant that Jeremy Pruitt wanted to bring in. And last year, Rick Barnes had the strap for $130,000 extra dollars.
You paid Tyson Helton $1.2 million, and he hadn't proved that he was a big-time OC at any big school.
And Rick Barnes had to fight for extra money last year because, remember, Rick Barnes had that Level 2, Level 3 NCAA violation because he was paying Desmond Oliver out of pocket. That was Rick Barnes' way of giving him a raise. And then after last season, after Tennessee had success and won an SEC title, he had to go beg the I said front office as if it's a professional organization, had to go beg administration to give him some more money, and all he really got was $130,000.
2017 violations that Tennessee reported. It was a Level 3 violation. Level 3. Violation of Rule 11.3.2.2, which pertains to supplemental pay. And Tennessee submitted the violation in the fall of that year. And Rick Barnes says, it was important to me that Des Oliver made the same amount of money as fellow assistant Michael Swartz. I felt like those two positions needed to be equal. They felt it wasn't in the budget. And I just said, I'm going to pay it myself. On one hand, you're like, wow, man. God, Rick Barnes is so special. Man, he's so awesome. On the other hand, it's kind of embarrassing. Like, it's kind of embarrassing that you have a coach that had to pay his assistants out of his own pocket because you didn't do it. Think about it. Like, if I'm a major news outlet, and one of your employees travels to go cover a huge story, but he has to pay for it out of his own pocket, that looks bad on the major news outlet. You should never have to do that. If you're Rick Barnes, you should never have to pay an assistant out of your own pocket.
Never. I bet my life, I bet the mortgage on the house that I don't have, that a football coach at the University of Tennessee never has to do that.
No.
And it's not me trying to compare football to basketball. It's just I guess in a way it is. I'm not trying to make it. I guess what I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to make it seem like basketball is bigger than football. It's definitely not. We know what brings in the money. But at a place like Tennessee, a head coach, whether it be the softball program, the baseball program, either basketball program or football program should never have to pay out of their own pocket to give a raise to an assistant coach, especially with the money that is being brought in from the SEC network.
I'll say it this way. You know, when coaches are managing rosters and coaching young men, what you hope as a player is that you're treated fair. That doesn't mean you're treated the same as everyone, because everyone's not treated the same. That's the big misconception sometimes with fans. They think, oh, well, this player should be treated like every other player. No, that's not the way it works. Players are treated differently, but what you want to say and what you want to achieve is that you treat your players fair. Well, take that same analogy and apply it here to football and basketball. No one expects basketball assistants to be paid the same as football assistants.
No.
Or basketball coaches to be paid the same as football coaches in the SEC. But when you go out and you drop $1.2 million on a dude like Tyson Helton without the Jim Chaney pedigree and Jim Chaney's success, and then you have your national coach of the year and conference coach of the year 2 times in a row. Excuse me, he didn't win it this year, but last year he won conference coach of the year. When he has to pay his own assistants, man, that's a bad look. And you can't let that happen. As simple as that. Hour 3, powered by Low T Center, lowtcenter.com.
Hour 3 of the Swain Event is brought to you by the Low T Center and lowtcenter.com. Do you know your numbers? Feel like you again. Let us help.
You're driving home, flashing blue lights in your rearview mirror. You pull over, step out of your car, and the next thing you know, you're being arrested for driving under the influence. Now what do? We all should be responsible. But remember, just because you're arrested doesn't mean you're guilty. Call criminal defense and DUI attorney Marcos Garza at 865-540-8300. The investigative teams at the Garza Law Firm know the justice system inside and out. They utilize cutting-edge technologies and investigative methods to prepare your specific case. Before you plead guilty to any criminal charges, call criminal defense and DUI attorney Marcos Garza. Put his number in your phone right now, 865-540-8300, because you never know when you or a friend will need it. Don't say guilty. Say Garza. 865-540-8300. 865-540-8300 and GarzaLaw.com.
We have all made the mistake of dropping or breaking our smartphones. See? But did you know that you can have it repaired for a fraction of the cost that it takes to replace it? Well, you can, because iDrop is the area's leading mobile repair store, home of the 1 hour or less phone repair, 1 year parts warranty, and #1 customer service. Broken screens, cracked cameras, charging ports, batteries, you break it, we'll fix it. If you didn't break your phone, protect it with one of our leading accessories such as LifeProof, OtterBox, UAG, Incipico, Caseology, and Spec. Visit our West Hills location at 7115 Kingston Pike between Office Depot and Hardee's, or call 865-888-9740 and speak with our trained technicians to see how we can get your phone working today.
Goes your car insurance. Nobody likes surprises, so switch to Erie Rate Lock. Get a great rate that stays that way even after an accident, ticket, or inflation. In fact, it's locked until you change a car, driver, or your address.
Your Erie agent in Knoxville is InsureFit RM. Get a quote at 865-684-4900. That's 865-684-4900.
Erie Rate Lock does not guarantee continued insurance coverage. It's not available in all states.
At work? Can't call in? Don't feel bad. You can talk to the guys on the text box. It's part of the free Swain Event app.
Swain Event, SwainEvent.com, fueled by Dead End BBQ, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. It is springtime. You can tell by the bees buzzing and the flowers blooming and the grass is growing because I think a lot of us have already cut our grass 2, 3, maybe even 4 times this year in the last couple of weeks. But we're taking a trip around the SEC, and we're starting with Vanderbilt, talking to Zach Ellis right now here on the Swain Event. And Zach, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Wayne. Appreciate having me.
Absolutely, man. I guess first, a lot of coaching turnover there with Vanderbilt and that staff. T. Martin was kind of offered the opportunity to be the offensive coordinator. Derek Mason went in a different direction there, and he also replacing quarterback Kyle Shermer, aka Brett Favre, according to Tennessee fans. I mean, he's like the best quarterback ever against us. But as far as the new coaches and the quarterback battle, how has that been so far for Vanderbilt?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Derek Mason seemed like he really wanted to add a sense of continuity, I think, with this offense. And by doing that, or to achieve that, he moved quarterback coach Jerry Godowski up to offense coordinator. He's the only coach on the staff who's remaining from Mason's first year here at Vanderbilt a few seasons ago. And so he's a guy who knows Derek Mason's expectations. He understands the offense that was previously being run under Andy Ludwig. And even though they will be replacing Kyle Shermer, as you mentioned, there are some, fairly experienced guys in the mix for that job. And, Riley Neal is a quarterback of Ball State, graduate transfer to a 3-year starter there. He can run as well. You've got Deuce Wallace, who's actually an East Tennessee kid from Sevier County High School, and he's basically been Shermer's primary backup these last couple of seasons. So he hasn't played a lot of significant minutes, but he knows the offense. And you really saw Riley Neal show out in the spring game. Wallace was injured and didn't play, but I think that's obviously going to be a spotlight for this offense under Jerry Godowski, which I think won't look too different from before. But you do have basically every quarterback that has a viable chance of being the starter right now can use their legs. And so I think you're going to see maybe a little bit more designed runs under this offense with Jerry Godowski. And certainly, there are offensive options on that side of the ball. You got the 3 playmakers coming back, decide not to go to the NFL year early, and Keyshawn Vaughn at running back, Elijah Lipscomb at wide receiver, and Jared Pinkney at tight end. The 3 of them combined for something like 68% of the total offensive yards last year. So you're losing Kyle Shermer, but you'll still have a lot of weapons for whichever quarterback does emerge for Jerry Godowski at offensive coordinator.
Vanderbilt football has kind of been weird within the last year or two in the sense of when Derek Mason first arrived on West End, they were much better on the defensive end, and then it's almost as if that has flipped the last 2 years to where the offense has really been what has gotten Vanderbilt going. Where does the Vanderbilt defense stand following the spring game and heading into the regular season?
Well, I think that has sort of been the narrative. I mean, you're right. The last few years, early on, it was a stingy defense under Derek Mason, which, as you recall, that's what got him this job at Vanderbilt from his time as the defensive coordinator at Stanford. Played in a couple of Rose Bowls there, and defense was kind of his calling card. The last couple of years, it hasn't been as stingy as they'd want it to be. Last year, struggled a lot to get to the quarterback. Last year was the first year since Mason's first year here on campus that Derek Mason was not the defensive coordinator. He called in his friend Jason Tarver. He was with the San Francisco 49ers. Previously, the 2 of them had been co-coordinators during some of their best years there at Stanford. And so one of the few guys in the country who really kind of speaks the same defensive language as Derek Mason. But last year, they just had problems getting to the quarterback. They turned the ball over, but it didn't seem like they were putting a lot of pressure, particularly at the running game and at the quarterback position. So that made it tough against a lot of these offenses in the SEC. And, this had been even a middle-of-the-pack defense. Statistically, you might have been looking at a 9-win team or something like that for Vanderbilt, considering the close games they were in SEC play and beyond. So I think going into the spring, you lose a lot of key people. I mean, obviously there at the linebacker, you're looking at Jordan Griffin is gone. He was a senior last year. He led the team with 119 tackles. Probably the biggest loss on defense, I would say, would be at cornerback. That's Juwan Williams. He was the one player who did leave after his junior season to go to the NFL draft. A lot of people are looking at him as a fringe first round, probably early second round guy in the draft. He's a 6'3" corner. He's got a lot of size and speed to him. And so replacing him is going to be pretty big. But you also got, as Swain kind of mentioned, you got some coaching turnover as well. I mean, Chris Marv was one of the linebacker coaches here, and he was obviously a all SEC player here years ago. He was Vanderbilt through and through. He took a job at Mississippi State in the offseason. So right now they're kind of just absorbing the loss of him and then defensive line coach Nick Eason up front. And Mason's kind of waiting and seeing what he's going to do with those, whether it's promote guys from within or look external. But I do think defense is kind of the biggest question on this team. You talk about the quarterback all you want, but like I said, they got some proven pieces on that side of the ball. You're going to see some newer faces, I think, on defense. And, maybe considering how they played last year, maybe that's a good thing for the Commodores.
Zach Ellis, VU, is how you can follow him on Twitter. Director, strategic editorial there of communications at Vanderbilt, here with us on the Swain Event. Kevin Ollie, UConn, Chris Mullen, St. John's, Penny Hardaway, Memphis. These are guys who had little to no college experience, but got some pretty good jobs. And Vanderbilt making a move over the last couple of days to fill their head coaching vacancy by bringing in Jerry Stackhouse with no head coaching college experience. I like the move for Vanderbilt. How about you?
I think people look at it and say, okay, this is an outside-the-box hire for an outside-the-box AD, because you remember Malcolm Turner, the new athletic director here, was the head of the G League and the NBA there for a few seasons, had not worked in college before, so this was sort of a new arena for him. He goes and kind of tabs a guy he knows pretty well. I mean, Jerry Stackhouse was a coach of the year in the G League. He'd been an assistant in the NBA for both the Toronto Raptors and the Memphis Grizzlies, at least reportedly had been in the running for some NBA head coaching jobs probably after this season. I think there's a lot of potential for a guy like Stackhouse. I mean, people might look at this and say, okay, this might not be a prototypical college hire, but you look back 3 seasons ago and they made the prototypical college hire, and Bryce Drew was a home run at the time, and it just didn't work out. So if you look at a coach right now with Bryce Drew's, with the resume he came in with, I think most people would have been happy with that, but they're going to try something new here. I think Jerry Stackhouse, from an X's and O's perspective, all the reviews are raving. He knows what he's doing. He's a good player developer. He also ran an AAU team for a while, so he probably does know how to scout some talent and know how to kind of develop that talent from a high school age up. And so obviously the biggest question is, can he recruit? What kind of staff can he put together? Those questions kind of remain to be seen. But I think just from a pure coaching perspective, and maybe just a pure excitement perspective, putting a spark into this program that didn't win an SEC game last year, I think this is an exciting hire for Vanderbilt. And obviously, we'll announce him today with a press conference at 11 a.m. Central here in Memorial Gym. And so I think people are pretty excited around here just to see what Jerry Stackhouse can do. I was able to catch up with him over the weekend, talk a little bit to him. He was extremely excited about this opportunity. Obviously, he played at North Carolina under legendary head coach Dean Smith, still kind of carries a lot of those fundamentals with him. And, he's somebody who I think just from a coaching perspective has a lot to bring to the table. And I think people here are excited to see what he can do.
From a local media perspective there in Nashville, I've seen some guys kind of laugh at Vanderbilt for going and hiring a guy who won a G League title, and there's been some of that from the national media as well. What has been the fans' reception of the hire, and how long do you think it will be before Jerry Stackhouse can really get this program turned around and headed in the right direction?
Yeah, I think the fans overall, at least the reception I've seen, has been pretty positive. It's kind of like, wow, okay, this is different, because you got to remember, I mean, this is no disrespect to the late David Williams, who did amazing things here, but in a lot of ways, things were always done the same way here for 15 years under David Williams. And so I think Malcolm Turner's kind of showing that, hey, I'm going to kind of shake things up and do things a little bit different. And you know what? I don't think fans are against that. I think fans are excited to see a new direction, a new perspective in a lot of their coaching moves and a lot of the way we're approaching these searches. And, I think overall, at least the reception I've seen, has been pretty positive. Now, reception and winning press conferences, all that doesn't win you games. Obviously, what matters is going out there and recruiting and winning. And Jerry Stackhouse is going to walk into an SEC that right now, as you guys know, is as tough as it's been in a long, long time. And so the challenges are obvious for Jerry Stackhouse, but I do think that maybe, you see the name at first and you say, okay, that's kind of an odd move. And then you start to kind of read about him and start to kind of see what he's done, what he's been able to do in his career as a coach and as a player in North Carolina under D. Smith. I think there's a lot to be excited about, and that seems to be the vibe I'm getting from fans as well.
Good stuff. Mr. Zach Ellis, it's always good to have you on. I really appreciate your time taking out, talking to us about Tennessee football and the new basketball hire with Jerry Stackhouse, man. The SEC is going to be really fun, and hoops, probably more exciting than football for the next years to come.
It's going to be fun to watch. Thanks for having me, Swain. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. Zach Ellis, VU is how you can follow him on Twitter. Works there for Vanderbilt. The communications department does a great job and bringing us some interesting facts there about Vanderbilt. So on radio, 850 AM, 100.9 FM, we have about 2 minutes and some change, maybe. What we're going to do is we will send off the show on radio, but we will continue to broadcast here on the Swain Event app and here on Swain Event TV. So if you are listening on the radio, you can simply change platforms and listen to us on the Swain Event app because we will continue past 10 o'clock. So the outro music is going to play here in a little bit, and then we will sign off there at 850 AM, 100.9 FM, Rocky Top Sports, and then we will continue the conversation here on the Swain Event on the app and on Swain Event TV. Also, you can stream the show at swainevent.com.
Rick Barnes threw a wrench into our plans. We were planning on starting our SEC spring football tour that we have done the last couple of years today, and we started with Vanderbilt. I wanted to get Vanderbilt on because a week ago they had they were the first SEC team to have a spring game, and then they go out and hire Jerry Stackhouse, so figured it'd be good to have on Vanderbilt first since they had the first spring game and, like I said, hired Stackhouse. But then Rick Barnes wanted to go out and flirt with UCLA, and so we didn't want to end the show talking about Vanderbilt.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, had pretty much the show prep for Monday, like Saturday night. But
Knoxville, Tennessee happened.
Man, the love that Rick Barnes has gotten, and UCLA showing interest. Hey, it's changed. You got to be able to adjust, right? You have to be able to
snap and clear.
Nope. We ain't snapping and clearing. We just adjusting. That's what we're doing over here.
We were going to have a good conversation about Tennessee's upcoming spring game, about the Final Four, about that awesome women's national championship game last night.
It's great. Yeah.
The Tennessee commitment.
Yeah.
Maybe we were going to talk about Rob Lanier taking the Georgia State job. But then, like I said, Rick Barnes had to go out and flirt with UCLA.
Yeah. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. It's all good, though. All good. All good. What happens when you are winning? Your head coach is getting a lot of attention, recognition, National Coach of the Year. People are going to want you. And programs like UCLA, they honestly need a guy like Rick Barnes. But Tennessee needs a Rick Barnes too, and Knoxville community needs a Rick Barnes too. So Coach Former will fight like heck to keep him for sure. 850 AM, 100.9 FM. We're signing off there. We will continue the conversation here on the Swain Event, so don't go anywhere. All right, so if you're listening right now, that means you are on the app. That means you are SwainEvent.com. That means you are watching here on Swain Event TV. And I'm going to take a look at some of the Facebook Live comments here. And Julian says this is a perfect opportunity for the University of Tennessee to show the country that we're serious about our basketball program. I agree 100% with Julian there. Brian Nash, Rick Barnes would dominate the Pac-12. He's dominating the SEC. In the last 2 seasons, he's dominated in this conference. But he's been successful in conference. If it's about achieving something that he hasn't achieved on the court, he still can do that at Tennessee.
This year.
I mean, he still can do it. I mean, the path is not necessarily easier just because you go to the Pac-12. It's not football. You still got to win 6 games in the tournament. You still got to win 6.
I mean, I firmly believe that if assuming Rick Barnes returns, Grant Williams returns, Jordan Bone returns, this team could go further and do more than the team this year did. And sure, the SEC got tougher, but Arkansas has to rebuild. A&M has to rebuild. Georgia is still rebuilding. Vanderbilt is rebuilding. So, sure, we added some great coaches into the league, but it's going to be 2 or 3 years before before we see those programs take the next step, assuming that those coaches work out. So my point being, Rick Barnes still can navigate the SEC schedule right now.
Yep. Robbie Mullins, she says, I wonder how hard it would be to get Rob back. I guess you're talking about Rob Lanier, who looked like the long-term answer for Tennessee if he was going to stay and kind of be the next coach in waiting, like a Jimbo Fisher at Florida State. I'm pretty sure if Rick Barnes left and Rob got a phone call, I don't think that would be too difficult to move back here to Knoxville. That's probably just a bag.
Correct. We would have to pay the buyout, but
that's just one bag.
A lot of people have asked that or mentioned it on Twitter. I don't know that Tennessee would go directly to Rob Lanier.
No, I don't know either.
From Georgia State, I mean, you look at his head coaching tenure at Siena, it didn't necessarily go according to plan. I think that if you're Tennessee, maybe you would like to go get a little bit more of a proven head coach.
I don't even care. I don't even look at Siena. I don't even care about that because it's so long ago.
I agree.
Yeah, it's about what he did here, and he did a whole lot more than what people think or know to help Rick Barnes, to help this program build, because he helped build this thing from scratch.
Correct. My point being that I don't think it's as simple as turning around and calling Rob Lanier. I think you go after the Greg Marshalls of the world.
You don't have to.
Right.
Again, you are in a position right now, Tennessee basketball, where you can call about 75% of the coaches, and you should be able to have a real conversation with them.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't like Tennessee football where you got to beg and go through 25 no's to get one yes. I think Tennessee basketball is in a whole different scenario than the football program was 2 years ago during the coaching search.
And I would say the percentage is greater than 75%.
Yeah.
Because of how many college basketball teams. I mean, you think there's probably 10 to 15 schools that there's just no way you're prying their coach. But after that, I mean, there's no reason that Tennessee at least can't call a coach and pique their interest. The first person I'd call is Chris Beard. He'd probably say no, but I'm making him say no.
Oh, yeah. I'm with you. Susan says, that she thinks Rick and wife are not going to UCLA. She has a nice little connection that she mentions here on Facebook Live. So
hopefully she is correct.
Quentin, with an obvious comment here, bring back Bruce or bring Bruce back. Sarah says have to call Pearl first, hands down. Okay, and man, Former and Pearl have a good relationship. They did when I was around. I don't know about it right now, but.
I don't think the whole Fulmer Pearl relationship would be the deciding factor. I think it's the Pearl administration relationship that the Bring Back Bruce crowd would have to worry about.
Well, I think the administration is different. It's a whole. Reed Sigmund wasn't here.
Yeah.
When Bruce was here, Coach Fulmer wasn't in administration. He was a head coach.
And
those head coaches they're tight. They're tight with each other, and Bruce and Fulmer was tight with each other.
Bringing back Bruce would be a huge risk in terms of the off the court stuff, because it looks like Bruce is going to escape the FBI probe and everything else he has going on there, the NCAA issues, but there's no guarantee. What happens if Tennessee were to hire him and then you have a Donnie Tyndall situation? That is the last thing that Tennessee needs.
It is.
And again, the same thing we said about Will Wade and Coach O, same thing we said about Lane Kiffin, Bruce in the football program. Keep the NCAA away from the football program.
Bruce means something to this community. He has, I want to say a room or part of section at UT Medical named after him and his wife, where he's donated money or helped donate a ton of money. So he's important to this community too. So. Listen, I'm not poo-pooing the Bring Back Bruce folks. If Rick leaves, I'm poo-pooing the Bring Back Bruce stuff when Conzo was the coach. I thought it was disrespectful and just really, really crazy. But I don't blame folks for wanting him back if Rick Barnes goes. So if I had to pick between which coach do I want for Knoxville right now, that would be Rick Barnes. Mm-hmm. But I totally understand folks who would say bring back Rick bring back Bruce if Rick Barnes decides to leave. I totally understand that. checking out some more comments here on Swain Event page here on Facebook Live. Keith says, is the shooter allowed to kick his leg out? No, the shooter's not allowed to kick his leg out. Carson Edwards did it at Purdue, but that's not what Kyle Guy did at Virginia.
No.
Let's go to the phones. Let's get to Turkey Man. Turkey Man, good morning.
Good morning, individuals.
Good morning.
I believe I've set a record here. First time caller on overtime.
You are the first overtime caller in Swain Event history.
How about that?
I believe.
You're an OT. Well, I think so. I mean, I kind of kept close tabs on it. I think so. I'll take it right now. Hey, touchdown turnover. When we talk about football for 3 hours before this week's out.
No.
I didn't think so.
Not for 3 complete hours.
No. I just, you remember those days, don't you?
I do remember those days. I really do.
I do. It seems like a long
Not
time
this
away.
week. Not this week. I mean, it won't be for 3 complete hours, but if Rick Barnes decides to stay,
it is Saturday, ain't it?
If Rick Barnes decides to stay, then let's say that decision is made today, then I think by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we should be talking more football, to be honest.
Well, it is this Saturday, right?
The spring game is this weekend, Turkey Man. That's right. We have confirmed it is on the 13th.
I'll come up and walk up. Okay. But anyhow, guys, I just want to give you a shout there. And I don't know how to turn out there. I don't think Barnes is going anywhere. I think he's going to be here. But, hey, you never know. This is Tennessee.
You never know, Turkey Man. You're
It's
right.
like the weather. It's like the weather.
You're right.
All right, guys, have a good one. I'll let somebody else get in OT.
See you. You never know.
Turkey Man is doing the opposite of Admiral Schofield. Turkey Man said, no, I'm playing in this overtime. I'm not sitting on the bench.
He's not letting anybody else call in?
Not letting anybody else call. That's why he's sitting here on hold on the line. He's not letting anybody take over that line one. So
he's one and done, though.
Correct. He's a one and done player.
He's one and done, man.
Look, and then he dropped off. So maybe he is a team player.
He's going back to the app. He's going back to the app. So.
Or he's going back out in the woods to
he can
hunt.
He can listen on the app. He can hunt and listen on the app.
So in wrapping up, we've talked about this for 3 hours. You've had overnight to think about it. Just in summarizing all this up. I think I just invented a word.
Summarization. It's
yes.
like that has multiple meanings, right?
Correct.
You can summarize, and it's the season after spring. Summarization.
It's like there was a baseball player a couple weeks ago in an interview. He had a really good game, and he said he preparated before the game really well.
Yeah, I know. I make up new words all the time.
I do it, but just kind of looking back overnight, these past 3 hours, what do you make of the Rick Barnes UCLA situation, and how do you think it ends up playing out?
If I had to put my money on it, and I had to say going or staying, like I couldn't beat around the bush, like you put me on the spot, and you asked me, is he going or staying? Based on what you know or how you feel, I would say he's staying.
I would too.
And if he goes, I will be disappointed in Tennessee not getting it done and making sure that he was good to be successful here. I would be disappointed in Tennessee. Period. So
that's where I'm at. I think he is not using the UCLA job to get himself a raise, but I believe that he is using the UCLA job to get what he wants with his assistant coaches. And then, hey, you know what? If Tennessee doesn't want to give me what I want, then, heck, I've got a UCLA job out in Los Angeles waiting on me. That's kind of how I think it stands. And I do think Tennessee will make things right today. And I think Rick Barnes will still be the head basketball coach at Tennessee when we talk tomorrow morning.
It just doesn't make sense, man. Rick Barnes in L.A. It doesn't make sense. And if Rick Barnes goes, that means Tennessee didn't do something right. And use the example of a sports writer having to travel on his own dime working for a big-time organization. I'll take it even a step further. If you, the husband, make your wife change her own tires, change her own oil, that's a bad look on you. If Rick Barnes has to pay his own assistants out of his pocket like he did 2 years ago, that's a bad look on the school. And we can never let that happen again. Never. And so, again, it goes back to what makes sense and what don't make sense. It doesn't make sense Rick Barnes going to Los Angeles to start all over with more expectations, less support from the fans. It's just I'm telling you, it just don't make sense to me.
And starting a rebuild 3,000 miles away from Hickory, North Carolina at 64 years old.
It don't make sense.
It does not make sense, especially when you consider that he has put Tennessee in a position to where Tennessee can be successful the next 3, 4, 5 years, however long he wants to continue to coach, quite frankly. I mean, he's beginning to recruit as well as he did at Texas. Now that he has gotten Tennessee up off the map, people are still complaining about Rick Barnes recruiting. Again, why would any big-time recruit want to come to Tennessee in year 1, year 2 under Rick Barnes? 3 coaches in 3 years, NCAA issues with Donnie Tyndall. Why would any 5-star want to come to Tennessee? But now that he has gotten Tennessee past that hump, he is finally recruiting very well like he did at Texas. Josiah James, the 5-star coming in next year's class. It does not make sense.
We don't have to be simpletons. We don't have to pick one or the other. We can have both. We can have both. We can have a good football program and a good basketball program. Ben, did you know you could do that?
We can.
Did you know that Ohio State had that going on a couple years ago? With Thad Matta and Jim Trussell? Did you know that? Did you know that Florida had that going on a couple years ago with Billy Donovan and Urban Meyer? Did you know that?
Huh.
Did you know Michigan State had that going on a couple years ago with Tom Izzo?
Still has it going on.
Football took a little dip, but
they had a good year this year, didn't
they? They took a big dip, but they're back. I mean,
Michigan.
Yeah. Did you know that Michigan? Another team that did it. They can compete at a high level. You can do it in both. Don't be ignorant. Don't be stupid. Don't think that you gotta have one or the other. You can have both. If you do things the right way. We self-sabotage ourselves. We make goals in our lives, and then we tell ourselves we don't deserve it. And so we don't put the work in to go achieve that goal because we don't think we deserve it. We practice self-hate all the time. And we don't achieve our goals because we don't think we deserve it. No, you deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve everything. You deserve it. Tennessee fans, we deserve it. We deserve to be good at everything. Why can't we be good at everything? Why do you have to sacrifice one sport for the other?
You don't.
You don't. Florida's proven that with inferior facilities that they can get it done. Doing it in an inferior city. Because Gainesville, I'm sorry, I know we got some callers from Gainesville.
It's trash.
It's not even close to Knoxville. It can be done. Ann Arbor, I've been to Ann Arbor. It's all right. It's nice. It's a good college town.
It's too cold up there.
It ain't Knoxville. It can be done. So stop putting out this narrative. Stop believing that you can only have one. You can have both. There's a lot of money. Tennessee. There's a fan base that cares about football and basketball. We don't have to pick one. We don't have to pick one. Rick Barnes means everything to the Knoxville community. There's some folks who don't get it entirely. Wins are important. Don't get me wrong. Wins are very important. That's not the only reason why Rick Barnes means a lot. And if Rick Barnes leaves, can Tennessee go out and get another coach that can win games? Yeah, they can do that. Conzo won games here, and Bruce won games here. Rick won games here. But it's not easy to find a guy like Rick Barnes who changes a community
while being successful on the basketball court.
You don't find it every day. You don't.
In any sport, not just basketball.
You don't. And so some of our fans, men, female, who already getting mad at Rick Barnes for just talking, getting all emotional, getting mad, fall back, sit down.
Yeah, somebody wanted to compare him to Lane Kiffin.
What?
There are people wanting to compare him to Lane Kiffin, which I'll be disappointed if Rick Barnes leaves, but I'm not going to compare him to Lane Kiffin.
A dude that gave you 4 years, a dude who impacted the Knoxville community in so many ways, so many organizations, raising so much money and awareness for.
Saved Tennessee basketball. Like, Tennessee basketball was embarrassing when Rick Barnes took over.
I can't with these takes, man. I can't.
And then, Lane Kiffin, the way Lane Kiffin left,
I can't do it.
I promise you, if Rick Barnes does decide to take the UCLA job, he will not leave in embarrassing fashion.
My God. Lane Kiffin? Well, coaching searches, man. She'll bring out the best in some of us. Golly, man. Woo!
So I'm sure there's a mad Tennessee fan out there at Rick Barnes that, out of spite, going to start a Bring Back Bruce petition.
Listen, I said this a couple minutes ago. If Rick Barnes leaves, I have no problem with Bring Back Bruce stuff. No problem, because then you'll have an opening. And there's a new administration. Time has passed. Hey, it wouldn't bother me. I know a whole lot of stuff about what happened when he was a coach that many folks don't know, that I'm not necessarily pleased with. But I'm a believer in people can change and they can evolve, and everyone deserves a second chance. And he won here. And one thing he did do was he did the same thing that Rick Barnes did, just in a different way. He positively impacted his Knoxville community. And so I live here. I'm proud of where I live. And I just feel like the way we make Knoxville better is that we all take a little bit of personal ownership and try to make it better. And we should be proud of things that come out of Knoxville, regardless if they benefit us or not. That's why I'm a big fan of Quez Glover. I don't care if he goes to Florida or not, man. I want him to be successful because he's a Knoxville dude. He's a Knoxville kid. And so Knoxville's special. Knoxville's special to me. Rick Barnes is special because he's made Knoxville better. And Bruce Pearl, if there's a vacancy, I hope that he considers it, and I hope that Tennessee considers it because he made Knoxville better.
Looking at it from the angle of the current players, what do you think their mindset is this morning? You didn't have to deal with Coach Fulmer leaving rumors when you played, but you did go through a coaching change at receiver.
And coordinator.
Were you? And obviously social media wasn't what it is today, and you could really follow along on Twitter and keep refreshing for updates. But I mean, as a player, are you constantly thinking about, who's the next coach going to be? Is my coach going to stay?
Yeah, I'm not a good example because it didn't affect me.
Right.
Woody McCorvey recruited me. He left after my freshman year.
Kind of is what it was.
I didn't even think about leaving. I wished him nothing but the best. It had nothing to do with me. My receiver coach who recruited me was fired after my junior year. I didn't think about leaving. And I wasn't in Coach Fulmer's office telling him, hey, man, you need to get Trooper. Whoever you get, I'm going to ball. I'm going to do what I need to do. So I'm probably not a good example, to be honest.
Well, then what do you think is going through the minds of the players on the team this morning? It's got to be a tough situation to kind of navigate because it appears these guys really love Rick Barnes. And I know if I was a current player, the thought of Rick Barnes leaving would quite frankly scare me.
Lamonte, Jordan Bowden, Grant Williams, even Jordan Bone, if you want to throw him in there if he comes back. All these players, DJ Burns, all these players who are currently inside this program. Not Josiah James, he's not here yet, but all these players who are inside this program. Rick Barnes got you this far. He's giving you enough to where you can go fly now. There's a time and a place, or there's a time when the bird has to leave the nest. It's time to fly. And you can't be all up under mama's wing. It's time to fly. And if you're Lamonte, you got 1 year, man. Rick's giving you a lot of stuff, a lot of information, exposed you to a ton of information, and go fly, man. Go Jordan Bowden, same thing. Grant Williams, same thing. So they shouldn't care who the next coach is going to be, because Rick has done a lot for them, and now it's their turn to take it to the next level. Right. You got to work in the gym. You know that you got to have the right attitude. You got to be unselfish. Rick has already instilled that in our players. Now they can take it and go further. Whether Rick Barnes is the coach or not is how I would look at it if I'm on this team. I'm not going to be the one who's like, oh my gosh, chasing a car to the airport and trying to jump on the hood. Don't go, I'm coming with you. Nah, man. You gave me a lot in 3 years. I appreciate you. Now it's time for me to fly.
Right.
That's how I would look at it.
Kind of like Admiral headed to the league.
That's how I would look at it.
I don't know. I get,
remember. Let's see here. Maybe Eric Berry. Like Eric came here in 07. Coach Fulmer was a coach. The program looked as stable as ever. Team competed for an SEC championship. Coach Fulmer's fired the next year. And then he gets a brand new coach. So, yeah, Eric was probably bothered by the coaching change. A lot of those guys were bothered by the coaching change. We saw how they played against Wyoming. We saw the send-off. At the end of the season, the last home game, Coach Fulmer was on the shoulders of Ramon Foster, Anthony Parker. We saw that. But Eric had lane. So Eric was like, I gotta handle business. I learned a lot from Coach Fulmer. I learned a lot from Larry Slade. I gotta go handle business. It's time for me to fly now. He did that. He went to the NFL.
Yeah.
That's the same mentality that Lamonte, Jordan Bowden, and Grant Williams should have, regardless of what happens.
Absolutely. And maybe this is because I'm younger and not as mature as you are in terms of my thinking, but I would feel a little slighted if I was a current player and we have a chance to do something special next year and you're looking at other jobs.
I wouldn't. Bruce Pearl did it when he was looking at Memphis. Memphis came in and, Bruce Pearl was loved and they were winning. Bruce Pearl flirted with Memphis and got more money.
That's fair.
And I didn't hear any criticism.
Well, I'm talking about from a player perspective, being on the team. Like, they have a chance to come back and do something special next year as well. And, coach is looking at a different job. That doesn't make sense. It's not like he's jumping to Kentucky or elsewhere.
They came to him, though. And it does make sense because go look at the reaction of those players when Rob Ranier got that Georgia State job.
Super happy for him.
So, if Rick Barnes doesn't get quality assistant coaches, you're actually doing the players a disservice.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
You're doing them a disservice. You got to get good assistants.
Because, again, I don't think this is about Barnes trying to get a better job or Barnes trying to get more money for himself. This, to me, in my opinion, this is about Barnes creating a better situation for his assistant coaches, or in this case, being able to bring in a highly touted assistant coach. And when you look at it from a player perspective, he's trying to better the players. Like, the players are going to benefit from Rick Barnes going out and somewhat dying on a limb to get them this new assistant coach, or make sure the assistant coaches are taken care of.
Rick Barnes ain't coaching the post players and the guards, and he's not coaching post and wing all the time.
Right.
You have assistant coaches that work with individual players and that are responsible for player development. If Jeremy Pruitt goes out and brings in a coach who's not prepared for this level, like Butch Jones went out and brought Kevin Beard in. And Kevin Beard was a great player in Miami. But nothing about his resume said that he should have been a receiver coach at Tennessee when he was. That hurt our receivers. It hurt their development. Because when David Johnson came in and was going over basic things with them and they didn't know it, David Johnson was like, wow. When his receiver at Memphis was more prepared for the NFL than Tennessee wide receivers, that should tell you something right there. So you got to have good assistants, man. That's how you serve your players, and if you don't, you're doing disservice to them. That's all. That's how I feel about it.
No, I agree. When you look at it from that perspective, I guess from the outside looking in, it looks like Rick Barnes may be trying to get a quote unquote better job in terms of brand name. But if you kind of peel the onion back, then he's really going out on a limb to kind of better the program by making sure the situation with the assistant coaches is best as possible. And obviously Rick Barnes benefits from that, but nobody benefits from it greater than the players.
And this is a simple conversation to have for those who don't understand that concept. You sit down with them and you say, listen, there's going to be a time and place in your life, whether you are playing basketball professionally or if you are working professionally, that you're going to achieve something really significant. And when you do, that's going to be your chance to get things that you want and need because you have leverage. And this is one of those times. This is a life learning moment right now for his players to understand that. Let's say Jordan Bones goes to the NBA or Grant Williams goes to the NBA, and it's time for a second contract. And the current team that he plays for just doesn't value him as much as a new team that's willing to pay him 50% more. They're going to think back to the conversation that Rick Barnes had with them about taking advantage of when you have leverage. I'm good. Rick Barnes talking to UCLA. It's the way that it's done now. If you went after UCLA, during the season or something, we're talking about a whole nother ball game. If you like Eric Musselman, who was allegedly reaching out to UCLA through back channels, according to some folks out here, when he was at Nevada because he wanted a UCLA job, then as a player, I would probably not like that at all. But if UCLA comes to you and, you sit down and you talk with them and then you talk to Tennessee, I wouldn't have a problem with that if I was a player. All right. Overtime. Did we end in a tie? Like the Browns and the Steelers? Huh, Ben? Why are you quiet, man? I'm asking you a question. Did we end in a tie? This is overtime. We're going to wrap up overtime. Did we end in a tie like last year's Steelers and Browns game, Ben? Are we doing that? You don't want to talk about the Steelers?
You want to hear a fun fact?
Is it a Steelers fact?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hear it.
The Steelers and the Bears had the same amount of postseason wins this year.
Oh yeah, man, that's a fun fact.
Speaking of which,
that's a great fact.
Antonio Brown, you get the for today. How are you going to tweet? Keep your emotions off the internet, and then call out Juju Smith-Schuster.
The most drama-filled team.
No.
In professional sports.
it looked like that during the season, but this offseason, with the way Antonio Brown has conducted himself before, during, and after the trade, the way Le'Veon Bell has conducted himself before free agent signing and after free agent signing, kind of looks like the Steelers were the ones that were in the right in dealing with a bunch of babies.
I will repeat my statement.
You know I'm right, too.
The Steelers.
You know I'm right.
The most drama-filled organization in professional sports this past year. And it's not close.
More than the Lakers?
Yeah.
Dude, no. LeBron was trying to trade his entire team.
Your franchise quarterback was ripping his players on radio.
He ripped one not named Antonio Brown.
Again.
And all he said was he needed to be tougher about making catches.
He does this. You got Le'Veon Bell. You got Antonio Brown. Bro,
look, I don't disagree with you that the Steelers were very dramatic. But answer this one question. In hindsight, with the way Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown have acted the last month or so, do the Steelers look better or worse in terms of the situation that they had to deal with?
They look better.
All right, that's all I needed to hear.
They look better. But we will see if they are better.
Look, and Big Ben is not the greatest leader in the world. I'm not going to argue that.
No, we'll see if they are better.
Okay, now I really do think we ended in a tie because we ended up talking about the Steelers and LeBron James to end the show.
Yeah, we'll see who ends better, Steelers or Antonio Brown. We'll see. But Antonio Brown, that was, and I can't even use the word I really want to use, but that was a really punk move. That was a
Juju literally did nothing to him, but praise him.
That's a punk move. Yeah, they don't make him real anymore. They don't, man. So, boy, Antonio Brown, man. Woo.
Juju's real.
Good player though. Good player. Sucker move. Good player. Great player. Sucker move. Antonio Brown. All right, that's our time for today. Same time tomorrow, 7 a.m. Peace and love. We're out.